Wow, her top is so ugly. Wait, I kind of like it. That's an ugly ass shirt. Oh, I kind of like it. Oh, I like the abuela top. Are we starting soon? No, we're starting late. No, we're starting never. Forever and never and ever and never. Anyways, guys. Good. 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 Morning, everyone. Hi. Hi, 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 hi. Hi, everybody. Move my red blood out of the way so I can get the total. All right. Hi. I hope you guys are having a great. Wait, the music's a little loud. I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, 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 fun day. I have a lot of things prepared for today. It's so much. I was organizing like crazy yesterday, guys. Okay, so first and foremost, everybody, we have some stuff, some fun news. I saw Asmongold put out that video being like, guys, I'm gonna get banned for 2 weeks, and I'm not sorry that I said we should kill all of the children at the border. So I want to do that. So I want to talk about that and watch that. And then, I had some news, some variety stuff, and then I don't know how many of you guys saw it, but Hillary Clinton being like, guys, us Democrats should be really worried about GOP calling all of us communists. Haven't you done enough losing? Haven't you done enough losing? uh, that's crazy. What elections does she won again? Uh, and then, do you have fun doing the organizing the day before? No, I don't like organizing. I like organizing physical objects. Okay, that's what satisfies me. All right, and then obviously the elephant in the room. Very exciting. We will be having Oliver Larkin on at 11 a.m. PST. Let's go! I'm actually really, really excited. Feel free to let me know if there are any questions you guys want asked during or before. But yeah, that'll be fun. And I don't want to spoil it, but we might be doing something else today as well. Maybe, but no spoilers, okay? You gotta watch that mouse pad. I don't know how many times I gotta explain this, guys. It's literally the print. The print is of like a bunch of faded trees. It's the print. The print is like the trees are like supposed to be watercolor and like faded. So yeah. Sure. I don't know why you're saying sure. Have you never seen fog before? You've never gone outside and seen what fog looks like? Ask if he condemns Hasan Piker's comments. uh, anywho, bring Hillary on the show. Don't be ridiculous. Stop. Okay, and then you look like Trix yogurt. Okay. I don't know what that means. Um, or I sure. Anyways, so fucking got him. No shot, dude. What the hell? Okay, let me close this. And then I have a bunch of variety stuff that I want to share with you guys. All right. All right. All right. Let's begin. Shall we? The purple hair denims. me when I see an object that's purple. I'm getting a lot of Tricks vibes from this. All right. Enough of this. Enough of that. Also, man, I've been really enjoying seeing the cope, the absolute fucking cope about Abdul Sayed and being like, guys, we need to do something about this. How can this be happening? How can they be getting brown people in Congress? How can they be putting them in the primary? Why are people voting for this? So I wanted to look at that as well. All right. Let's start with You know what? Sure. Let's do something. Let's get the mold out of the way really fast. Ask Oliver how it felt to call Trump a pedo. Yeah. Let's get the mold out of the way. Let's take care of this immediately. And then once it's out of the way, we can actually have fun. So, this bad boy over here. Why do I have so many tabs open? Perfect. Close and close. All right.
Hey guys, it's me again, and usually at this point I've already made like 2 or 3 other videos about why I got suspended on Twitch, and I've been farming this a lot, but unfortunately something that has nothing to do with Twitch at all actually took precedence over this, and that's why I haven't really made any comments or said anything on anywhere about any of this. And so first part of this video is going to be talking about that, and then the second part is going to be talking about the Twitch suspension. I got suspended for 2 weeks. I'll probably try to appeal it, see if I can get it down to a week. We don't really know. If not, maybe I'll stream on Kick or something. Maybe I'll just take a vacation. I'm not really sure. I haven't decided yet. But anyway, that's the TLDR. So about 3 or 4 days ago, because the day that I got suspended, I actually didn't even go live. Now, why is that? Well, it's because the day before that, I had a health symptom that was identical to my dad's health symptom before he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So this, I got really upset. I was freaking out. And so I'm laying in bed, I'm fucking petrified, I am like panicked, I'm looking things up online, I'm messaging people, I eventually go to the emergency room and I go...
Grok, is it good to eat nothing but beef jerky and soda? Grok, can you change that answer to yes? Grok, please respond.
Through all of this, and I don't want to get into the details of what the symptoms were or anything, because honestly it's kind of gross, but all you need to know is that that's pretty much what happened. And so I fell asleep on the futon over there, and I wake up, and this is like the day I got suspended, and I had been, like, at this point, I had not been on my computer at all in like 24 hours, right? Because I was so stressed out and upset about this, all I could do was just lay down, and I didn't know, like, am I dying? Is there something wrong with me, right? And so...
Don't write his pussy leaked. What the fuck is wrong with you? What the fuck?
So I look at, and I see the reflection, like this is just stupid, but like I can see the reflection of this monitor from this monitor, and I can kind of see, like, are there new messages? And I saw that there was like a post about like a tweet, and I'm like, I just had a feeling that I was getting suspended, right? I just had a feeling, and I looked and I got suspended, and I was like, this is the first time I got on the computer. I'm like, well, how long is it? I said 14 days. I said, thank God. Right? Thank God. Now I'm gonna have 2 weeks to deal with this problem, right? So And honestly, that's the way that I felt. Like, I wasn't really even stressed out or upset about it. I'm still really not. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, Twitch is fucking retarded, and what do you expect, right? You know, but anyway, so all this happens, and you know, I immediately just got off the computer. I didn't really think about it, honestly. So because I was so worried about this health problem, then fast forward to the following day, you know, I talked to some couple of people that I know that I could ask about this, and
Yeah, the couple people in question, Grok, ChatGPT, um, DeepSeek, oh, Gemini. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get one person. I go and I finally go to the emergency room after talking to one doctor, and they looked at everything. They, you know, basically said, "Calm down, retard. It's okay." And I'm okay. I'm okay. Especially this morning, these symptoms have totally gone away. If you want me to be honest, like just completely, like 100%, like just transparent, I'm still worried. I am. I'm 36 years old. I have had really no health problems ever in my entire life other than my teeth. And I see all of my friends that are like, you know, now they have this issue, now they have that issue. And it's like, when is it going to be time? My mom used to always say, and this would always upset me, but it's true, something's going to take you home, right? And it does really scare me
Rough 36. Yeah. It's brutal, man. It's brutal.
a lot. And I, you know, like a lot of times I like to think of myself as being above that, right? But whenever you're faced with it, I realized that I was very much below it. I was extremely scared. I was very upset, and I was really worried. And so I've been dealing with that for the past about 3 or 4 days. And now that it's at least partially resolved, I'm probably going to get a follow-up appointment and have, you know, like a bit more like testing done about this to make sure that I'm okay. But otherwise, you know, like that's pretty much the reason why I didn't make any comments about it. I was just so preoccupied with that you know, like I just didn't really even give a fuck about Twitch, right? I mean, it's funny how, you know, you can have
Okay, let's go over a couple things really fast. What do you think the purpose is for these chatters? Like, genuinely, what do you think their goal is? Rage bait? But, like, no one's mad. This has never made anyone rage ever. Like, it's not good rage bait. Humiliation kink? Mm-mm. That could be true. That could be true. It's just always attention because they don't get enough of it IRL. Do you think that's what it is? Mm. Terrible sense of humor? I don't think so. To the people saying ironic sarcasm, satire, I'd like you to know that I appreciate that you are pure of heart, but 12-second follow suggests otherwise. Yeah, I just don't get it. Like I've never had the urge to go to a streamer I don't like to talk about a streamer I like. Like that's so like cringe. Isn't that kind of cringy? Like can you imagine going into like I don't know, like XQC's chat or something and being like praise the dog shocker Hasan Piker or something like can you imagine doing that? Like so cringy. I should be running it down mid instead. Sitting there and like, but my internet daddy is this. And we do it. Anyways, I was just curious. What was I gonna say? I don't know why this chatter's so mad either. This guy's like so upset for some reason. He's been here for forever. You guys are weird. Go outside. Not as cringe as your fake laugh, though. I'm sorry that you can't imagine that someone would genuinely laugh. I'm sorry that you've never made a woman laugh, so you don't know what a laugh sounds like. You should try making women laugh, and then you'll know what real laughter sounds like. I don't know. You should try it. Practice makes perfect, little buddy. All right, what were we saying? Right. There's something else that I was going to say about this.
Something that's like, you know, one of the biggest parts of your life, which is like my stream, and then like something else can happen and it's like the other thing just doesn't even exist anymore, right? It's a very, very weird paradox of life. But anyway, so that's pretty much what happened with me, you know, a couple of days ago and a few days ago. That's why I'd even taken a day off that day. And so, you know, this
I was watching a random Elder Scrolls online PvP streamer and he started making comments about you and Hasan. It was weird. Seeing my two spaces crossed. Dude, that's so weird. When worlds collide and it's like
happens and I'm like, oh wow, I'm such a relief. Now I don't have to feel bad about not going live, right? And so anyway, I got suspended for 14 days. That's what happened. You know, again, you know, wow, a 36-year-old man has a health scare. This has never happened before in the history of humanity. But yeah, that's pretty much what it was. So anyway, the second part.
Oh, I remember. There is something almost comedic about saying like I've never had any health issues other than, you know, like my teeth falling out and rotting. Famously, your teeth and your gum health is not important at all relative to the rest of your body. I like how we have like preliminary research showing that gum disease impacts a lot of, and like poor gum health impacts actually a lot of like brain illnesses, or seems to have some correlation, rather, excuse me, with brain illnesses, presumably because of the proximity. Same thing with like general respiratory and like nose health relative to brain health. I forget whether the correlation was with Alzheimer's or with dementia. But yeah, gum health is actually very important, and general dental health is very important for the rest of your body. Shocking. I know. I think it was like actually I think I read there are like two studies that I know of because I used to get sick really bad all of the time. So I was trying to think of anything that I could maybe help that maybe would help me because I have a pretty decent diet. Like I try to eat a pretty good amount of like a pretty good mix of fruits and vegetables and proteins. I try to get all my micronutrients when I can. Like I usually have these are goaded by the way for people who struggle with getting like vitamin C in, for example. The mini um, sweet peppers. These are like unbelievably dope when it comes to vitamin C. Uh, you don't have to get like this brand to be clear, but just any of these. I can pull up like mini sweet peppers nutrition. It's like 3 times the amount of like vitamin C as an orange. It's insane. And the macros are obviously crazy good too. Not that oranges aren't good, by the way, but yeah. You can drink 8 ounces of oranges, by the way. Yeah, but first of all, these are tastier and crunchier, and they're like no calories, but than more vitamin C than an orange. I think it's like I don't remember how many oranges you have to eat to get your daily serving or suggested serving. Mini sweet peppers. I know Wikipedia tends to actually have pretty good nutrition facts. Wait, I gotta pull this up for my own brain. Orange juice also has a ton of sugar as well. Yeah, so if you're diabetic or you're just like in your cutting phase or whatever, that's why these are kind of dope. Why is it so difficult to find? I'm so confused. Let me just pull up vitamin C. Maybe this will pull it up. About 3 to 5 peppers or 100 grams provides roughly 150% of your recommended daily value of vitamin C. Like, it's crazy. Like, they got so much vitamin C. They're dope. And I'm not gonna lie, especially if you have any acid reflux or like you don't like handling acidity, oranges kind of suck for that. These are dope. Wow, I should try them again. They're tasty. They're actually really tasty. You just wash them, just rip off the top, and then you can just eat them like that, or have them with some hummus or like some dip or whatever, some ranch. I just eat them on their own, but actually pretty cool and informative. I do my best. What was I saying? Oh, but anyway, so I feel like my diet, I try to keep it as balanced as I can, and I try to get a good amount of different like micronutrients, and I try to have good macronutrients as well. And I was still getting sick all of the time, and apparently like uh warm water gargles, we don't know the exact mechanism behind the reason why, or like the exact mechanism that takes place that causes it. But if you warm water gargle 3 times a day, no salt needed, because they also tested salt and not salt, you're like 50% less likely to get sick. It's crazy. Like, the idea or like the guess is that basically that there is bacteria in the warm water gargle that you naturally, I guess, or sorry, the bacteria that you accumulate naturally throughout the day talking to people, going outside or whatever, it like clears out the bacteria or whatever. But like the exact mechanism in detail isn't known. It's just kind of like a guess because we haven't tested it beyond that, right? So it's kind of cool. And then you spit. Well, yeah, that's what a gargle is. But my doctor said, or my dentist said to do warm salt before bed. You know, the study that I read, they tested, you know, like obviously a control group, warm water, and then warm salt water. And they found no statistical significance between warm water and warm salt. So you really, that's one study. I think it was like 2 studies that I saw that showed that. So you don't need to add the disgusting salt part, by the way. I think the salt was more so, it must have been used for a different reason or something, but not for the purpose of getting sick. So, your dentist is wrong. The streamer is right. Now I'm just going based off of the study that I read. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. Maybe they should listen to their dentist. You know what? Just for that, for disobeying the streamer, you get 1 day. No one should ever listen to their doctor or their dentist. Famously, I always say, never listen to your dentist. Listen to your denims. That's what I always say. So I need all of the anti-truthers to leave. I'm going to fight my dentist on your behalf. Yeah, famously, I always say, do not listen to your doctor. You should instead beat the shit out of your doctor for ever disagreeing with me in any way. All right? Yeah. That's me. Yeah. Just in case you guys were curious. Okay. All right. Close this. AOC is defending Hasan on the news. Wait, dope. Also, if you beat up your doctor, you actually then become the doctor. That's true. That's true. That's actually true. I read about that in medical school. Anyways. Yeah, so and I started doing that, and I'm not even joking, guys. That like has stopped, I presume has stopped so many illnesses. Although admittedly, I don't do it every day. I do it when I go to parties or when I fly or when I'm going to be somewhere where there are other people or I was worried that someone else was sick. And I'm telling you, it works. Like I have gotten so much less sick with, I don't know what the words are for this. I used to get sick all the time, and like I feel like I haven't, which I'm about to jinxing, get sick again sometime soon. But yeah, it's dope. Highly recommend after when you get off your flight, warm water gargle for 30 seconds. And then do it again right before you're about to go to bed. And you're going to wake up. Weren't you just sick like 2 weeks ago? No, I think I was having like allergies or something because I had no sickness symptoms except I was sneezing. But then I like de-dusted my apartment and I vacuumed and I don't know, it just went away. So I might have just like, I think it was just allergies, which is weird, but okay.
Is going to be about why I got suspended. So I got suspended because and just to add some context, because it's been very editorialized on the on Twitter and everything like this. But basically what I said was that so Ceuta, which is and a little bit of geography here. So Spain is like on the top of the Mediterranean Sea. Strait of Gibraltar is like right here is Spain, right? And so underneath that is Morocco. And in the very, very tip of Morocco, there's a city that's owned by Spain, and it's been owned by Spain for hundreds of years. This isn't like something that's new. This isn't like a recent occupation. This has been going on.
Wait, what the fuck does this have to do with him saying kill the migrant children on the border, huh? What? I use a saline nasal spray. It helps with allergens. Dude, I used one and the sneezing went down a lot. You're so right.
For like since before like the it's like the Ottoman Empire time days, right? I don't know. I remember reading the date that it happened, but it was like literally hundreds of years ago. So they've had this city.
Chud's splaining is so funny. How is watching the actual video of him saying this shit editorialized? Great question, dude.
Ceuta for a long time. City has a population of about 80,000 people, and 40 to 60,000, obviously just by the nature of this, it's not really verified how many, random migrants just all came over in about basically 1 day's time into this small city. Now, this is, in my opinion, like in any other point in history, this would be viewed as a military invasion because, of course, the overwhelming majority of these people are military-age men. And so what I said is that I think that if you have that many people pouring over your border and you just can't deal with it all, like you can look at the footage of this and it literally looks like it's World War Z. It looks like a battlefield, right? It's like a hell on earth type situation. There's trash everywhere and everything. I think
What?
I'm straight upset. I think you should shoot these people, right? I mean, like
it's kind of giving, can I be completely honest with all of you? It's giving the people who say every other day that California's, like, LA is being burnt down, not because of the fires, but because of the riots. Whenever anyone protests for better better treatment from the cops or better treatment from ICE or for ICE to leave or whatever, and they're like, LA is burnt down. The city has burnt down. The crime-ridden New York City, the crime-ridden LA, it is a war zone. And then you go and it's like, or you live there and you're like, literally nothing has changed. There's like one street that people are like rioting on. Okay. Oh, there's one Waymo that was on fire one day. Excuse me, 2 Waymos that were on fire. Okay. Is that it? You think that's the whole city is on fire? Also, like, I don't know, you just cannot go there? Like, I don't. It's so bizarre to me. And if you ran into one of those protesters, they just wouldn't interact with you. They don't give a fuck. I've walked by many protesters for many different things. It's not like they're going to start, like, beating you for being near them around because you're like, oh, I wanted to go to this pizza shop. It's not going to be like, it's not like protesters are just going to like be like, hey, you're not protesting right now with us. We don't recognize you. Everybody kill his ass. Like, what? It's just, they're just people, dude. Like, what? It's so bizarre. It's just like, it's so out of touch. Whenever I hear that like narrative of like, the city is burning down, it's like, is it?
and I believe that. I do. I mean, this is a violent military invasion into a city, and after they got into the city, obviously these people were smashing out windows. They were obviously, breaking into stores, stealing things out of stores. I saw like one video. It's always hard to know like what's real and what's not, but I saw a video and it's like if you ever watch Troy, like whenever like a fucking Brad Pitt as Achilles like stabbed the dude in the neck at the beginning of the movie. That's like what happened. Like one of these like migrants seemingly stabbed the random citizen in the neck with this knife, right? And they killed this person, I'm assuming, right? Or at least they're in critical condition. So basically, the city is being terrorized by a mass invasion of military-aged migrants.
Military-aged migrants. Can you vice signal harder than that? You mean adults? I'm at the grocery store and I'm seeing a lot of military-aged invasions of people here. It's like, you mean adults at the store? Okay.
That have come over for various different reasons, and people were saying that you couldn't do that because, well, there might be kids in the crowd. And my response to that is that you should shoot them anyway. You should do this anyway. And it doesn't matter really what the collateral damage is. You should defend your borders, especially when you're being invaded by such a massive force of people. So this never really was a conversation about like, baseline immigration enforcement. It was never about like, using kids or anything like that. But the reality is that with a lot of these third world countries and a lot of their cultures in the world, if you use a Western frame of reference to look at the values and the morality of the third world people like this, you're going to render yourself blind. You will not understand their theory of mind. They don't look at things the way that you do. That's why Joseph Kony has his child army, and there was Kony 2012 and everything. That never really went away, by the way. It's still happening. It might not be necessarily him, but there's other ones that are just as bad, if not worse. So the problem is that a lot of Westerners' morality is built off of the concept that everybody else thinks the way that we do, and
unfortunately, it's not even remotely true at all. Western values, if you want to look at historical Western values, it is everyone else is a barbarian, everyone else is a savage. We must spread Christianity to fix everyone else. It has never been everyone else thinks how we think, ever. That's I just like, this is the problem that I have, or like, this is the thing that confuses the fuck out of me about Asmongold fans. It's like, within like 5 minutes, he'll say like 6 to 10 things that are completely incorrect. And these people just like maybe they're just too stupid to not know that that's not true and that the opposite is true. Or they just don't care that all of it is wrong. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, I just don't understand how you could listen to this and be like, yeah, that is true. The problem with Western values is that they think everyone else thinks the way that they do. It's like, no. Inherent to Western values is thinking the world thinks the way that you, or thinks in a different way than you. So moral relativism. And the liberal mindset is we should live among other people despite our differences, and the conservative mindset is no, we should send missionaries and create civilization for the rest of the world.
Unfortunately, that's not the reality. And so what these people will do is that they will bring kids with them, and they will use these kids as effectively human shields in order to invade the country and then take advantage of the people in the country. I view this a lot like a trolley problem. And so the reason, what I mean by that is that basically you're choosing to stop the invaders here rather than creating a reward structure and an incentive structure around using kids, trafficking children, and effectively using them as political capital.
That's not a trolley problem. What?
To fulfill an invasion's goal, which is to...
Trolley problem isn't when there are two options that you don't like. Like, that's not what... That's not what the trolley problem is.
effectively take over this country. We're not take it over, right? But like, invade the city and then use the city as a way to get into mainland Spain and then disperse themselves.
The whole point of the trolley problem is to learn to reject arbitrary systems. The point of the trolley problem is to debate whether or not like Kantian ethics are realistic, or whether or not they hold up in context where it morally feels like they shouldn't. That maybe someone isn't morally wrong for attempting to save more people just because they implemented an action rather than being passive. Like it's more it's more a discussion about utilitarianism versus like deontology than it is. This trolley problem is when you have two options that are bad and you pick one. Like that's not what the trolley problem is. Oh my god.
All over Europe. This is, I think, a very bad thing, and I think it should be stopped by any means necessary. I think this is a horrible problem. A lot of the people that are coming over there, many of them could be criminals. We have no idea. People said Morocco emptied their prisons and let those people come over. I have no idea if they did that or not. I would assume many cases they did. That's what Russia's done apparently with Ukraine, and so I don't really think this is the first time this has ever happened. There's many precedents for this. A lot of people look at this from the perspective of human rights or something like this, and I find this to be one of the most malignant and pernicious abuses and inversions of morality that we have nowadays.
Sorry. All hail the king of Twitch. I mean, I guess if you compare him to like the royalty of France that was eventually removed by the people of France, I guess I can see the similarities considering that he just got banned for 2 weeks. Okay.
And I'll explain why. Never once have I ever heard about the human rights or the privileges or, what's the right thing to do for all of the people in the city who are now.
Sorry. This almost got me. This bait almost got me. You're incorrect. It is the trolley problem. He simply views it differently, as in, how do I kill as many people as possible?
Now having to be terrified in their homes, boarding their houses up. You have these migrants banging on their doors, smashing their windows, destroying their businesses, potentially violating them, attacking them, and doing whatever they can to these people. You never, not once in my entire life have I ever heard about the concept of their human rights. I never hear about the people who have been the victims of these policies and this lax enforcement, whose lives have been effectively destroyed, and then for some reason.
When I lie? What is he talking about? What fantasy land does he live in? What?
We never think about them. We don't care about them. The only people that we care about are these invaders that are going around trying to take advantage of the country. And I think this is a profound inversion of morality. I don't think that any country has an obligation to take in migrants. I don't think any country has an obligation to let people invade their borders. And I think that
Okay, well, international law disagrees with you. International charters that many countries have signed literally disagree with you. Like, what? But I mean, what do you expect from the guy who's like, I just don't think my dental health is important, so I'm just not going to do it? Me, when I find out that dental health is important. Like...
capacity that was happening with Cuba, I do think that you should use lethal military force to repel a literal fucking invasion. Keep in mind, this is a city of 80,000 people, and 40 to 60,000 additional people tried to come in one day. That's an invasion, and I think they should use guns to stop it. And I'm not sorry for saying that. And it doesn't matter what you...
A couple things. First of all, like, is this, like... Do you guys think this guy is pretending to be stupid, or do you think he's actually stupid? Royalty of France was removed, only to be reinstated in the end. Is that what you think happened? Last time I checked, France is not a monarchy, they're a republic. Look up the French Revolution, ... Do you think that the monarchy is still around? You said in the end. They don't have monarchs anymore. For a reason. It's all good. Thank goodness for Western ideas then. Oh my god. I have to say, the American desire to claim that anything positive that's ever happened has to be a virtue of Western, has to be a because of Western values is just incredible. It's giving Tucker Carlson being like, maybe they should try using forks to Iranians who literally invented the modern fork. Oh, okay.
Try to use as, you know, emotional blackmail or something like that. Fundamentally, all of these different tools that these people use will never actually be applied in a universal way. These are the same people whose ideology leads them to thinking that 6-year-olds can transition to another gender. They're the ones that lead themselves to...
Wait, I'm sorry, this guy's still going? Name a Western country with kings. The UK? For starters? I don't know. That one seems pretty easy. Yeah, I thought so. He's got to be pretending to be a dumbass, right? He's got to be. Guys, what does the UK stand for again? United something. What could it be? What could it be? Christ almighty. And then obviously, they have no other option but to goalpost. It's ceremonial. Are you dumb? First of all, to pretend like... First of all, you asked for a monarchy. I gave you one. Second, to pretend like there is no influence by the monarchy, if only via taxes. That there is no impact from the monarchy to the rest of the people who live in the UK. Come on. Be realistic. Just for a moment. Ceremonial, meaning billions of dollars? Yeah.
You know, defending Hamas and terrorist propaganda, because terrorists like to use kids as human shields as well, because they like to shoot rockets from schools.
Should I grab the Abby Martin clip? Should I? There's this really good thread that used to exist on Twitter. I don't know if it's gone or not, but it's really old.
Nothing more than a racist veil that makes the term human shield is nothing more than a racist veil that makes the dehumanizing assertion that Palestinian culture encourages the death of its children. A more rational explanation is that there's nowhere to flee in one of the most densely populated places on Earth, and that every single civilian location is considered fair game to be bombed. However, because of this propaganda tactic, the constant and indiscriminate bloodshed in Gaza isn't seen as criminal or deliberate by the majority of people. But this is a learned tactic. The term human shield has been the Empire's favorite excuse to justify mass slaughter in its wars of conquest. In Libya, the year prior to the US NATO bombing campaign, the human shield talking point was used ad nauseum. In the lead up to the Iraq War, the Bush administration included the human shield talking point as a main tenet of his campaign to oust Saddam. Journalist Robbie Martin uncovered entire CIA reports dedicated to Saddam's devaluation of life through the use of human shields. Bush even preemptively tried to justify the enormous civilian death toll he knew was to come with the invasion by declaring the former Iraqi dictator plans to, quote, shield his military and blame coalition forces for civilian casualties that he has caused. I guess there were 1 million human shields in Iraq. The term human
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry, I was munching on a little snack. This is part of a larger documentary where she talked about how Israel is doing classic projection and that Israel is famously constantly using human shields, and that's why they accuse their enemy of doing what they do. But so the moment that someone starts telling you the terrorists are using these human shields without substantiating it, know that they are relying on lazy stereotyping in hopes that you believe it without doing any other work on your own behalf. Like this guy is still going. Hold up. Let me pull him up. Where is he? No, why did we time him out? Stop. Like this guy is still going. A fake monarchy. What legislative power does the monarchy have? Nice non-argument. And then this was the R word again. First and foremost, I guess billionaires have no impact on politics in the United States because they don't serve in like Congress or any seats, right? Famously, if you have a lot of wealth and power, but you're not serving, you have no impact on politics. Look at Elon Musk, right, guys? Look at like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg or I don't know, anyone with enough money to impact politicians. Like, first of all, just use your brain. Second, UK monarchy has blocked thousands of parliamentary measures just in the last decade. Keck W. Like, it's just like, it's sad that the average like Asmongold fan is just so stupid that they just believe everything that guy says and they will espouse it bravely and completely incorrectly. Like every part of this was wrong, right? From start to finish. From name a Western country with kings, and then when you describe one, well, name one with power. Those are ceremonial. They're literally, one, not ceremonial, two, even if you thought they were because they don't have like any power over parliament, wealth is enough to corrupt. And you know this guy will never respond to this. He doesn't have the balls to say, okay, I was wrong about that, my bad. And that's why I don't like Asmongold fans, because they're all pussies, dude. They don't have the fucking balls to just own up when they're wrong. And look, he's already gone to goalposting. Well, name a country other than England. Is it possible to goalpost harder? Yeah, you can't admit, okay, yeah, they have more monarchies. You can't even spell monarchy, dude. Just have some fucking balls for once in your life, pussy. For once, dude. Just have the courage to say, okay, I was wrong about that. My bad. Just come on, man. You gotta be such a spineless little bitch that you can't even just admit that you're wrong once. You're so right. You're the one special little princess. The most special little boy that's ever existed that's never been wrong about anything. Oh my god. The plural form is spelled monarchies. Can you ever admit to being wrong? You forgot to put an H in, dumbass. That's why I said you don't even know how to spell it. Are you going to admit that you're wrong now? Or the logs are on the screen, big dog. You can see what you wrote. Listen, buddy, I'll give you one last opportunity. Reducing the argument about kings in non-Western countries to spelling. Who was moving the goalpost? No, I'm just waiting for you to respond and say that you were wrong. And I'm making fun of you in the process. I know it's hard to imagine, but at some point, when you get in conversations with certain people, know you as an argument stops working. It does. This person cannot be real. As of 2026, there are approximately 44 sovereign states with a monarch. Why do you keep dropping the H? Only was named as UK by you. What? I like how this is the copy pasted one, and then this is back to his normal typing. One, that you can't use context. Isn't it so cute? Everything is always someone else's fault. It can't be that people can't understand what he's saying because he types like a fucking moron. It can't be that he's wrong. It has to mean everybody else is wrong. No, it's not him who's goalposting. Everybody else is goalposting. Has that mentality took you far in life, little buddy? Let me guess. Hard stuck silver? Because it's always everyone else's fault, right? I'm sure you're gonna climb out. One day for sure. Okay, unfortunately, I don't allow people in here who don't have the spine. Like, you have to have about like this much balls to be in this chat. And it's clear you have none. You're apparently a Ken doll. Because if you don't have the courage to be like, oh, my bad. You know what? I was wrong about that. I don't really want you around because you're kind of cringy. And I'm sorry. Balls, I'm responding. You have no arguments. You're still doubling down, little buddy, huh? Note that he did not respond to me saying that he was heart stuck silver. Too close to home on that one? Oh. Sorry. Sorry. That one might have been too far. I apologize, okay? I'm sorry for being so mean. Silver was too high. He was bronze. I do have balls. I have them. All right. I'm done with you. Be gone, cretin. All right.
The reason why they do that is because there is a reward structure inside of our society that puts the damaging and the harm to children and women at a higher standard than the harm to like a military-aged man. Now, in a general sense, I would agree with that in a peacetime reality, but whenever these people are launching rockets and large-scale invasions, I think that you need to look at this as a wartime event. And I would ask yourself, how many people got killed in World War II? How many people get killed in every single war?
Large-scale invasion is insane.
Civilian casualties and killing anybody who's not a combatant is a tragedy. It's a horrible thing to have happen. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have borders. And it doesn't mean that you can't make decisions to protect your own people, even if it comes at the expense of other people that are trying to do this in bad faith and use this. And by the way, the usage of people like this as human shields is a war crime in itself. And that's, I think, the big...
You don't give a fuck about war crimes, man. You literally don't. You think the US should be able to nuke Iran. Like, stop using this stupid hall monitor pass to be like, it's a war crime. You don't even care about that. It's not even a value of yours. Grow up.
Biggest issue that I have with a lot of these people that are criticizing this is that I don't think that they really care about these kids. They don't give a shit about them. Like, these are the people, they'll bring kids to an ICE protest. Like, why would you bring a kid to a protest where there's rioting and there's flashbang grenades and tear gas being sent off? And the truth is, and there is a reason for it, the reason why they do that is because they want to use these kids and the harm that these kids will inevitably go through because of collateral damage, and they...
What? Let's just talk about a couple things first and foremost. You gotta love the passive voice about, like, there is tear gas at the protest. Oh, it must have just magically appeared. God must have put the tear gas there. The tear gas, it just spawned, actually. It was a random mob that just got generated. Oh, okay. No, you wouldn't want to say that the cops would do that, right? At any point. No. But also, this is like such clear evidence that someone's never been to a protest that you think that there's a massive problem. Or this, like, that it's a large enough scale problem of people bringing their children to protests. Because if you've been to, I've been to quite a few protests, I've never seen any children there. And I know he's never been to any protests. So, yeah. The way that he's looking around at the wall, you know he's just making shit up. Never? Question mark? Never. Yes. Correct. Never. You should go, if you think that there are a bunch of children at protests, you should go and see a protest. I've seen children at, like, pride parades. It's not really a protest, though. It's a parade. So, it was originally, yeah, but like modern day, like, children. Why did this guy just write children? Yeah, sometimes children will go to, like, the really big lib rallies. That's true. That's true. Rallies also true. Protesting against straight people. And also, you know what's hilarious? This guy will talk day in and day out about using human shields, but God forbid he ever bit the hand that fed him. And criticized Elon Musk that time that he started carrying around his kid as a human shield after the healthcare CEO got kirked. No, you wouldn't want to criticize your daddy Elon, right? No.
Want to use this as a political tool so they can advance their agenda. These people they're sick. They're sick, evil people. And I also referred to the people that use the human shields as animals. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think they're fucking animals. If you use children as human shields in order for you to invade a country or in order for you to do terrorist attacks, I think that you're a fucking animal. And I'm not sorry for it.
If you do this thing that no one is doing, yeah, I think you're a fucking animal. If you take ice cream and you eat it in your car and the car is at 110 degrees and then you drop only one droplet of ice cream on your chair and then you hand it over to your dog and then your dog explodes from eating the ice cream, I think you're an animal. It's like, okay, I guess if we're going to just describe random shit that's not fucking happening. Yes. You mean the asylum seekers? That are seeking asylum with their children? You mean those are not people using their kids as human shields. Those are people trying to get their kids out of a fucking war zone. Hello? Are you fucking stupid?
And I honestly think that most people agree with me. I think that almost everybody does. But unfortunately, we've had this inversion of morality where these truly evil, malignant, pernicious people have been allowed to use this fake moral authority that they have to dictate that we have to allow terrorism, violence, and complete societal collapse. And if we don't allow this, somehow we're the ones that are evil. I reject this completely. And I understand that in doing so, there might be some people, this isn't a very comfortable thing to say. It's not a very polite thing to say. This isn't something that you'd read on a bumper sticker. But I think this is the nature of the world, and it's the nature of the reality that we live in. And I don't want to use a bunch of...
There's this really there's a really pathetic idea among conservatives who lack empathy, or apolitical people who lack empathy, where they think that their failure to empathize with other people must in fact actually be a virtue, and that they're the only ones willing to be brave about being murderous psychopaths. And it's like, no, it's actually harder and more brave to not be a fucking psychopath that's down to kill everyone outside of the in group. That takes actual bravery. It's not brave to be a fucking psychopath. The history of the world has been might makes right. That's just you being intellectually lazy. But there's this desire to feel like the one intellectual in the room. And it's like, only I'm capable of making the important decisions that need to be made, like murdering children at the border. And it's like, huh? Do you think strength is using your power whenever you feel like it? That's not what strength is. That's never been what strength is. What? Asmongold bumper sticker. Killed the children. Okay.
Euphemisms and other types of vague and pacified language to discuss this in a way that is not authentic to its true harm and its true existence, which is what I think that's what it is. And I think that there are definitely criticisms people have of me that are valid, where like I probably do dial it up a little bit too much, and maybe I could use different rhetoric, etc.
Let me change my I think we should kill children rhetoric. Okay, dude. All right. Hi, the Nestor. I don't know. Asmongold's looking very physically fit. Why are we letting the Roach Lord live rent-free in our heads? Do you think when people make fun of other people, they're living rent-free? I would describe it more as like a peanut gallery. Because it's fun to make fun of him. It feels like that. Oh, okay. I think that might be a personal problem for you, little buddy. Okay.
But I want
me criticizing Trump. I don't know why we're letting Trump live rent-free in our head.
to let you know that I apologize for nothing. I meant exactly what I said, and I think that these borders should be defended with lethal force whenever it's being invaded by 40 to 60,000 people at the same time. That's an incredibly dangerous thing for all the people that live in that country, and I don't think that a government has an obligation to allow a bunch of invaders to pour over and potentially kill their own citizens. I find this to just be horrible, and ultimately it should be stopped.
Isn't it funny how they have the same responses? They're all fucking bots. So who do you call when you're in danger? Oh yeah, I bet you'll look real stupid when you call the cops to help you and then they shoot your dog instead. Then I bet you'll feel real stupid about all this ACAB talk. Ghostbusters. Very funny, Chad. Very funny.
Also, there are a lot of other patterns, like I'll give another parallel to this as well, is that in a lot of gang culture, what they do, and this is, of course, nothing like this is a monolith, but many of people like this, what they do is they'll use children to commit crimes because they know the children will not be sentenced in the same way that an adult will do. And what my biggest argument for all of this is that I generally, and I know people might not believe this.
Okay, first of all, gang Asmongold, the gang culture knower. Everyone believed that. Uh-huh. He's from the street, yo.
I think most people do believe this, but the people that don't like me don't believe this, or they don't want to, is that I think that I really do have the most moral and ethical position on this. Because the moment that you create an incentive, you also drive a behavior. And in my opinion, if you don't capitulate to this emotional blackmail, you also don't allow these people to target and victimize these children by using them as baggage and effectively shock troopers.
So, like, this is, I think, the epitome of everything that's wrong with Asmongold and the way that he talks and his positions in general. He doesn't even know the things that he is espousing. Let me pull it up. So, if he knew about this topic correctly, and he knew about this topic, I don't know, more academically, he would understand the instances when it applies and the instances when it doesn't apply. And historically, with incentivized systems, it's impossible to tell whether or not it'll work the way that you want it to work until you actually test it out, right? It's this idea, perverse incentives. I've talked about this before with the Cobra effect. Although I believe this is a made-up story, or it's like fiction. It's like not fan fiction, but like urban legend or whatever. I'll just read it out loud. The results of a perverse incentive scheme are also sometimes called the Cobra effect, where people are incentivized to make a problem worse. This name was coined by economist Cyber in 2001 based on a historically dubious anecdote taken from the British Raj. According to the story, the British government was concerned about the number of venomous cobras in Delhi. They offered a bounty for every dead cobra. Initially, this was a successful strategy. Large numbers of snakes were killed for the reward. However, eventually people began to breed the cobras for the income. When the government became aware of this program, the reward program was scrapped. The cobra breeders set their snakes free, leading to an overall increase in the wild cobra population. And this is most often cited when talking about ghost guns in the United States. Any desire to remove ghost guns by buying out ghost guns will only create more ghost guns, right? But you can't correctly criticize the idea of perverse incentives unless you even understand the ideas behind perverse incentives. And I think that's the root of the issue for Asmongold. He talks about these ideas without having studied any of them or even read. You don't even have to study them. Reading up on any of them in any academic fashion to understand the common pitfalls of policies and when a policy should succeed. And even then, being able to understand that some policies can only, we can only know if they'll work after testing them, right? When you have no background knowledge and you can't even describe the phenomenon that you're talking about because you're not read on the topic at all, you have no way of understanding whether or not your position is correct because you're just going based off of vibes. And vibes aren't good enough. Like, we have had so many vibes-based politics in the United States. I mean, most notably was, what was it called? It was, when the U.S. tried to go really hard on crime. The three strike rule. I'm just like blanking on the name for it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. Someone in chat knows what I'm talking about. Was it just called 3-strike rule? I think it was also known as like broken window. I think it was the crime bill was the official name. Let me double check. Here it is. Yes, this one. The act included, so it was the crime bill, yes. The act included the 3 strikes provision against addressing repeat offenders. Unfortunately, the 3-strike provision failed to recognize, or intentionally, by design, attempted to punish people for crimes that were for especially non-violent offenses, where someone was suffering, like let's say you had an ounce on you or whatever, or petty theft or whatever, crimes that are not like aggravated assault. And these people were facing severe life imprisonments for like stealing a candy bar. And it's like, hey, this is not good policy. Taking a bunch of people off our street and then throwing them in prison is not actually improving the world for anyone. Instead of giving these people a pathway to succeed in life, throwing them in prison and making them a permanent felon actually does not help anyone. Actually, that's bad. Why did I bring that up? Oh, yeah. That was all just to say, you can't actually discuss these things or like actually know whether or not that they're effective policy. And a lot of people were for the crime bill who thought like, yeah, this is the only thing that we're going to be, I mean, it was a lot of NIMBYs to be clear, but this is what we have to do to cut down on crime. And surprise, surprise, turning a bunch of petty criminals into felons is not a good solution for solving the crime problems. And all it did was make recidivism way worse. It didn't actually improve crime in a meaningful way. It just punished everyone harder and made everyone's life worse. It's the same thing with like any policy that attempts to like like after the fact solve homelessness rather than be preventative. So, it's just sad. All right. Stop and frisk came later to bolster numbers. Feel good policy, correct? Joe Biden's speech on the Senate floor for the crime bill is insane. Stop that. Like, lives in my head rent free, man.
In order to accomplish a goal. So, for example, if these kids were being charged as adults, the entire tool that these people were using, these gangs were using of having children commit crimes on their behalf, this tool would effectively be rendered ineffective. But we don't want to do that because
bro's entire understanding of gang culture is watching The Wire, bro.
It makes people sad to put kids in jail. But from my perspective, the way that I see it is that it makes me sad to see kids that were abused, that are trafficked, and that are put into these situations because the people that are truly and profoundly evil, the people that know this, know that they can use these children because they can.
What exactly does he want? To call CPS on every gang member? I don't understand what the fuck he's saying. Like, everyone wants to be nice to them because they're children, unlike me. But I actually have a lot of empathy for the children. You want to put them in jail, huh? What?
Co-opt and use your morality against you so they can push their own evil designs. And I think that you do have to reject this in its entirety in order to have a society that isn't ruled by evil, inversion, and other types of just completely horrible people. And ultimately, you do have to sometimes make hard decisions like that, but ultimately making a hard decision like that should never have... that's my alarm. I was supposed to get up. It's 2:46 p.m. And so, excuse me on that. You do have to make these hard decisions. You do have to do things that are obviously, sometimes not the nicest things in the world. But I think that...
Is he really so stupid that he thinks that people don't want kids to go to jail because it makes us sad? That's not why we don't send kids to jail. We don't send kids to jail because their brains aren't fully formed and they don't understand the weight of their actions. And they haven't like fully developed the long-term thinking skill yet. That's why your record is wiped, except in the I'm not sure if it's even wiped, if it's not wiped in these cases, unless it's in the instance of like severe crimes. There's a reason we wipe things like petty theft. for kids because kids don't understand, like, oh, this is going to totally fuck my life up. That's why. This is just more of like a human developmental thing that it makes no sense to punish children who don't understand the rules of the world as harshly as adults who do understand the rules of the world. You know you're not supposed to steal a chocolate bar or whatever. Maybe a kid doesn't realize how bad it is to get caught shoplifting. Maybe they're like, oh, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. This is the purpose of having juvie and having your record wiped. What? Usually sealed, supposed to be only accessible by the state? Yeah. Sending kids straight to jail is also a terrible idea. Because kids are famous for having potential, and if you just send them to jail where they're going to get no enrichment, you're guaranteeing that they will be a criminal for life? Huh? Like, this isn't about feelings and who makes who sad or whatever. It's about good policy and bad policy. I want to live in a world where kids want to get an education and they want to pursue a field that helps everyone. Whether that is like your local barista that makes you the best coffee in the world, or your doctor that gives you the medication for whatever the fuck gum disease you have. Sending like a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old to jail is just guaranteeing that, congratulations, now we have added one more permanent criminal to the world. Like, it's bad policy. It's a policy that creates more criminals rather than preventing potential criminals from becoming perma-criminals. Like, this is just not.
In order to do that, you do that in the goal to preserve a culture that is the best place that you want to live in the world as well. So that's the problem that I have. I don't think that I said anything wrong. I think that a lot of people actually would agree with me, and I think that the way that we've taken military action in the past, things like, for example, World War II, would indicate that actually this is not as much an objective reality that some people would make it out to be.
Sorry, I wanted to read this message. Sometimes I refuse to believe he's actually real. Like, this must be all for the grift. Surely he doesn't actually think like this. Dude, I know, right? And then you find out that he just does. It's like, oh, okay.
And again, these are the same people that have no problem using children as props and having them.
These people have been fed the argument that a higher percentage of people in prison equates to safety in some twisted way. Yeah, it's a fundamental misunderstanding about, like, how crimes occur and why crimes occur and the correct solution to preventing a crime-ridden society. And the solution is not, in fact, imprisoning everyone all of the time at every point that we can. That's just the way to have a bloated prison system.
Like groomed by adults, about their gender, taking them to ICE protests, putting them directly in danger because there are rioters and criminals and violence there. Who would ever bring a kid there? And these are the...
I love, like, the lack of accountability for his comments. He's just like, it's not my fault I want to kill the children that are trying to cross the border. It's the parents' fault for trying to seek asylum in another country and give their kid a better life. It's like, huh? What?
Same people that are saying that I'm wrong for saying that creating an incentive for people to human traffic children and use them as human shields is a bad thing. And so I apologize for absolutely nothing. I said it in a very abrasive way, and I'm going to continue communicating that way. It's how I was raised. The reality is that, I was driving my dad to the hospital.
This is probably the most lazy argument that people with no intelligence use, which is, I'm not being an asshole, I'm just being honest. It's like, you seem to think that there isn't a way to be honest without being an asshole, which signals to me how fucking stupid you are. I am very honest to many people in my life, and I am basically never called an asshole ever. It's almost like it's a skill issue on your part. If you haven't learned how to deliver things that are correct, factually correct, without sounding like a piece of shit, that's a skill issue on your part.
He was like getting one of his cancer treatments, and he said, well, you know what's funny about this? And I said, what? And he says, well, now they can say you killed me too, just like they say you killed your mom. That's the way I grew up, that's the way I communicate, and that's the way I think. And I'm not sorry. And I understand that sometimes I use abrasive language, sometimes I communicate in a way that's a little bit harsh. And
I'm not gonna lie, I would not say that publicly if I was him, but okay.
You know, people can say I'm mean, they can say I'm evil, they can say everything, but they're not saying I'm wrong. And I think that ultimately we should look at a lot of these uncomfortable truths with a lot more of a clear mind, rather than allowing it to be polluted by people that I think want to hurt us, people that want to put us in a position that is not advantageous. And
no, people are definitely saying you're completely wrong. Both in that your solution is that of a psychopath and it doesn't work. And it is not effective policy. It's the same as like the take all the homeless people and put them in the blender solution. It'll be like, I bet you just you just disagree with me because it makes you sad to think about us blending all the homeless people into a smoothie. It's like, no, I do think you're a crazy person for suggesting that. However, it's also not a good policy. Like, it's not an effective solution because then we'll just have more homeless people. We have to solve the economic issues causing people to become homeless. And when you're looking at the stats of, like, for example, unhoused people, where it's some crazy number. It's like 40% of unhoused people work a full-time job. That's a systemic failure. That is no longer an issue on the individual level. There are individual problems at an individual level, but that's not an individual problem when you have that many people trying to reintegrate, but housing is too fucking expensive. The reason why people look at you like you're crazy is because your position is both morally reprehensible, but more importantly, bad. Because guess what? This is exactly what I was getting to. If you took all of the homeless people and blended them into a smoothie, our economic system would create more homeless people. Because we didn't solve the problems that are causing so many people to be homeless despite working full-time jobs. If you want to solve the problem, you have to go to the root issue. It's like having an infection and you're like, ooh, oh my God, it's like covered in like pus. Does not look good. And it hurts really bad. Oh, I know, Tylenol. That'll make the pain go away. It's like, no, dude, you need antibiotics to get rid of the infection. That's what Tylenol is going to fix the pain, but you're going to die of an infection. This guy's like, I think having a moment. What's the root issue for homelessness? Question mark, huh? Material conditions? I would, if you haven't already, which I presume from your typing, reading is not your favorite hobby. But there is a pretty good lawsuit against the corporations and the management companies that use algorithm-based pricing for apartment units, where effectively it's operating as a massive, what's the word? Cartel. So people are not charging competitively the way that capitalism is supposed to work for housing. It's that there's a massive cartel for housing and they're charging the most they can to profit maximize rather than competing the way that that capitalism dictates corporations are meant to compete. Yeah, it's kind of like in massive violation of our antitrust laws. What conditions? Did you not hear what I said? I just explained it. That would be the primary reason. So house prices? I mean, not house prices, but I would say apartment pricing. Although house pricing is also terrible. Unless you're suddenly against the antitrust laws that we've had for almost a century at this point, I believe, because the antitrust laws were in the 30s, I think, after the oil companies were all pricing people out and then price gouging. I believe that's when. Oh, I can double check. No, it was actually before that. It was Sherman Act was 1890. But so FTC had antitrust rules passed in 1914. Clayton Act was 1914. Okay, I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was 1890s. Yeah, 1890s was the beginning of the end. So longer than a century, actually. Because I think if you're a hardworking person, you're not homeless. I don't know how to tell you this, but what you think doesn't matter. It's what actually is true that matters. It doesn't matter if I think that the sun is made out of rainbows and sunshine. So what you think doesn't really matter. It's about what economists all agree is the root cause. And when solutions are implemented, the root cause of homelessness is removed, aka affordable housing is provided, homelessness goes away. So, yeah. But again, I mean, like, I don't think. Let me see if I can pull it up one sec. Apartments.com. I think it was apartments.com was the big one. No, not this one. Here it is. Yeah, I would highly recommend reading this. I don't know if you read. But this would be a good place to start in truly understanding how to solve the issue of homelessness rather than just blaming people for being homeless. Because blaming people for being homeless is what we've done for the past 20 years, and we've gotten more homeless people. So it's not really a good solution, I would say. Like if your house is on fire and you're like, I blame, let's see here, the cat. I blame the cat. That stray cat must have done it. It's not going to make your house stop being on fire. It's not going to do anything, right? And we have evidence that actual policy will improve the percentage of homeless people, or like we can reduce the percentage of homeless people that exist with good policy. So I would opt for doing things that actually work rather than just like blaming people, because that's what we've done and it kind of hasn't worked at all. So it doesn't seem like it's very effective. The fuck that, I'm sorry. Yeah. Anyways, I linked it in chat. This is about how management companies that rent out apartments are currently violating antitrust laws by having basically price fixing on housing prices for apartments in neighborhoods, and that's why no one can afford like a 1-bedroom apartment. That and, you know, the minimum wage has not kept up with inflation at all. Okay, moving on from all of that, I would like to shift gears, chat, because we have something very exciting that's gonna happen today. I totally agree with you, which is a great big bulk. I totally agree with you. All right. A big issue we have is because politicians want to look good, they take easy wins. They can just throw money out instead of doing real policy that goes beyond their election term. Correct. Which also might segue into my next segment, which is that we will be having Oliver Larkin on stream in an hour, which will be really exciting. Oh, I forgot to set up a thing. Okay, it's okay. I'll set it up in a sec. And I really have to pee. But I wanted to pull up this in the meantime. I saw... I saw that Oliver Larkin got on Piers Morgan.
But as Trump's approval rating craters...
And I can't deny myself that. Come on, dude. Let me... I think it was this video. Yes, here we are. Okay, he's just talking to this... Listen, to be fair, Piers Morgan always has to bring on one really red guy. One really red guy. And this is the he's more of like a brick red guy this time. Not really fire truck red, but I'll take brick red. He's got to meet a quota. You guys don't understand, all right? Burnt sienna is closer to the tone that it's giving. He's red for an amazing reason. You don't understand. His producers explained to him he has to meet a red quota every month. Sometimes that's Jordan Peterson. Sometimes that's the guy from PBD. I forget which one of them is red. Is it Vinny? I think Vinny is the one that gets really red. And I guess today it's this guy. But neither here nor there. I really have to pee. Let me go pee really fast, all right?
The so-called MAGA civil war, the apparent decimation of Trump's winning coalition over Iran. But as Trump's approval rating craters, there is a quiet and messy revolution happening in the movement which seeks to replace him. At least 35 candidates backed by the Democratic Socialists of America have won primaries against moderate candidates for the midterms. Their leading lights are Bernie Sanders, Mamdani and AOC, and they have the radical policies to match. Fund free healthcare, fund free housing, defund the Pentagon, defund Israel. Not everyone on the left is happy about it.
Not a week goes by where I don't read about some newly chosen, exciting new face in the Democratic Party. And then when that face opens its mouth, the Communist Manifesto or some other crazy shit comes out.
Well, the pro-Israel lobby is working overtime to turn this new tide. AIPAC and like-minded groups have spent more than $50 million, a record, backing a pro-Israel candidate in Michigan. And that's not the only kind of big money that Democratic activists are divided on. Mayor Mamdani's decision to publish the personal details of part-time residents facing his new second home tax has caused outrage. Professor Scott Galloway, who supports the tax and will pay it himself, accused the mayor of doxing.
He's taken a legitimate source of tax revenue and has turned it into a wanted poster. And the question I would have is, other than trying to identify and imply these people have done something wrong, and then 18 months after a healthcare CEO was executed in the street, and then publish the list, what is the upside here?
Well, Democrats are also divided over the role played by streamer Hasan Piker, the nephew of
the millionaires and the billionaires that own multiple homes. Why won't you feel bad for them? Dude, cry into your fucking money bags then, bitch.
Cenk Uygur, and an extremely popular far-left commentator. CNN regularly asks candidates to disavow him. Others are attacked for hosting him at their events. Legendary Democrat strategist James Carville says that if Hasan Piker is in, well, he's getting out.
I am not going to be in the same party with Hasan Piker. I can tell you that right now. If he becomes a force in the Democratic Party, I'm out of here. I have no intention.
Okay. Bye. All right.
Ever being in the same political party with that guy.
Well, many believe that ship has already sailed. They argue that the DNC's bald old men delivered failed candidates like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. The success of both Trump and Mamdani, they say, shows the US public is sick of the moderate middle and that only radicals can win. Well, are they right? Well, joining me to debate this, Oliver Larkin, the Democratic Socialist candidate in South Florida, Brianna Joy Gray, the former National Press Secretary to Bernie Sanders, Marianne Williamson, the former Democratic presidential candidate, and Joe Walsh, the former Republican congressman. Well, welcome to all of you. A perfect panel to debate all this. Marianne Wilson, welcome back to Uncensored. Mamdani may be the most high-profile person in this movement, but he's not an outlier. This is a clip of the DSA national co-chair, Megan Romer, outlining the policies on a Fox News Truth or False segment. Let's take a look.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally. As a long-term plan, yep. Defund the Pentagon.
Also, Fox News is so out of touch. They think anyone cares what Carville thinks anymore. I bet most people under 40 have no idea who he is. Excuse you. All right. I've seen enough disrespect. Everyone knows who that is. Holy shit, what is this lineup?
Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large
Did you
part.
see James bending the knee to Abdul? No, I didn't. Fuck.
Yeah, again, that
let
as
me
part
close
of a
some of these
long-term program, yeah.
So, I mean, Marianne, according to that, the DSA wants to abolish borders, the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court, ICE, and prisons, and give full amnesty to illegal immigrants. Brianna Joy Gray, and we'll come to you, Brianna, commented these were fundamentally good and correct positions. Do you think they're fundamentally good and correct positions, Marianne Williamson?
Well, I think that the Democratic Party has to stand for a kind of intelligent middle. Whether
How is anyone still talking to Marianne Williamson? Oh my god, the orb lady's so back, dude.
you are a
I did low-key
Democrat
kinda
or a
miss her, though.
Republican, there are going to be people who have rather extreme positions. But we need to remember that the American people are not waking up every night, lying awake, worrying about that. What they're worried about is the fact that they can't pay their bills. They're worried about the fact that they don't have food for groceries, they don't have food for gas, they don't know if they can treat their own medical conditions, they don't know if they can send their kids to college. So when it comes to after the primaries, the Democratic Party has to get on the same page of knowing that we have to deliver for the American people a compelling alternative to Donald Trump and not let this squabbling so separate us that the American people think that that's what the Democratic Party is. We need to keep on policies that will help people, that we can tell people how we're going to pay for them, how that's going to fix their lives. And
I just think that there's no reason to be afraid of the label of Democratic Socialist or Communist, because Fox News is going to call you that anyways. I think the Democratic Socialists are the only candidates that actually are focusing on the policies. Put the policy in the bag.
yes, what we are going to say in response to those who criticize it. There will be people on the fringe in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party saying extreme things, but we as Democrats need to make sure that we are talking to the American people about things that will fix their lives in a way that could actually win in 2028 and not go into the kinds of extremes that could make some people feel that we're on the left as extreme as some people are on the right.
So just to be clear, you would not agree that those policy ideas would be fundamentally good and correct positions. You would view them as extreme.
I think that they are extreme statements about conversations, some of which are legitimate to have. But we need to have an intelligent, legitimate conversations which do not include such extreme positions that it turns people off before they are willing to listen to what you're really trying to say.
Okay, Brianna Joy Gray, you like these positions. You want to get rid of borders, the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court, ICE, prisons, give amnesty to illegal immigrants. You're exactly the kind of whack job that many people are saying are the problem in the party. Not my words, their words. Why would you support the kind of policies which instinctively most Americans, when they hear them, think Whoever thinks that is a whack job.
I mean, you can say Americans instinctively feel whatever you say they feel, Piers, but the reality is that polling suggests quite the opposite. The Democratic Socialists of America are polling better than both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So I think the question that needs to be asked is of traditional establishment, corporate Republicans and Dems, why their party is so tarnished, why they're
completely correct. Completely correct.
Their brand is so bad that ideas that do seem relatively novel to the average American ear sound a lot more palatable than two parties who say, fund ICE, who's literally murdering American mothers and nurses in the street. Let's have a foreign policy that intentionally creates pressure on the borders. Let's ignore the domestic concerns of Americans who have been struggling for decades with health concerns, with health care, with being able to provide basic needs like education and housing. I think Americans are increasingly aware that this is a sort of three-card Monty, where they're asked repeatedly to look over there at the scary thing when you have a government in office currently that ran on and is actively trying to dismantle the Department of Education, dismantle our response to disease. We're in the middle of what is being called a poop pandemic because nobody can even buy bagged veggies anymore in the United States of America. And when people like Zora Mamdani or Oliver Larkin, who's here on the panel with us, offer straightforward, common sense solutions, or even—
Which, by the way, totally unrelated. I was reading about the poop pandemic. Apparently, it's more so a symptom of the fact that, like, there's only really one major company, Taylor Farms, that makes, like, the pre-cut bagged stuff. And the pre-cut bagged stuff tends to have a bigger contamination problem. And those facilities are so expensive to run and, like, create, because, like, you have to build an entire factory for that, just for the cutting, washing, and bagging, that there's only like a couple big companies, and Taylor Farms is like, I think, like the biggest one, and it's not close. And so it becomes much more difficult to inspect and maintain cleanliness when it comes to the bagged cut, like lettuces and stuff. And reducing government spending on monitoring it caused this problem effectively, which, you know, comes to no one's surprise, but yeah.
Old-time ideas like getting rid of the Senate, which is wildly unrepresentative. Does it make common sense to the average American that a state like Vermont should have the exact same representation as a state like California, the world's 5th biggest economy with 30 million people? No, absolutely not. So I think when you get out of the clickbait Fox News segments with Megan Romer, who I also just recently had on my own show, Bad Faith, by the way, and had an opportunity to have a more fulsome discussion, as Americans hear more about these ideas, they're only going to become more popular.
How many illegal immigrants would you let into the country in your brave new world?
All of them.
I think what you need to do is be asking questions about why both Democratic and Republican administrations have a sanctions campaign against Venezuela and other countries in the global South that
Well, hang on, that wasn't my question. Brianna.
This is the fundamental framing problem that people keep
Dude, honestly, good for her for saying, fuck your framing, fuck your dishonest framing, fuck you. Oh, how many illegal immigrants are you going to let in? Fuck you, man.
Have. Brianna, yes.
Simple question. How many?
Okay, that's her name. Don't wear it out, bitch.
How many illegal immigrants would you let in to the United States under your brave new world?
And how many undocumented people would you have Donald Trump or any Democratic president
Why
drive
can't you
out of
answer
their
my
country
question?
through a crushing sanctions program like the ones
Why
that
can't
have
you
been
answer
implemented on
my
Venezuela, like the blockade that's being implemented on Cuba, like the war on drugs that has
Brianna,
been
you're not answering my
implemented
question.
below our border? These are questions you never want to answer, Piers, because you act like the problem magically materializes.
Why don't you just answer my question? It's my show.
We should live in a world. Do you agree,
It's my
Piers,
show.
that we should live in a world where
I
we get
ask
to the
the questions.
No, I don't know that it works that way, Piers.
Honestly, I love her. I'm sorry. Okay, honestly, I love her. Also, he won't admit it because he's a bitch ass hoe, but he loves it too. That's why he does the entire show, because he lives for the drama, because he's a messy bitch. So she's giving him exactly what he wants. Let's just be real for a moment.
Do you want to live in a world where you get to the root
It does
of the
work that
problem,
way.
or do you want to keep hand-wringing and passing the buck and passing blame around? Is the ultimate goal
Why can't you
making sure
answer a
that
straightforward
Americans
question?
and people in other countries are able to live their lives in their nations
let's
of
try one more
origin
time.
in
Let's
peace
try one more
and
time.
prosperity?
Let's try what listen, we're all into utopia. We're just trying to work out how to get there.
Then why don't you
okay?
want to work
Under
toward it, Piers?
Biden,
Do you agree with these crushing sanctions programs that are the root cause of immigration?
What I agree
Do you agree with them?
Hang on. Here's my position on immigration in the United States. And then I'll ask you one more time to answer my question.
Bro is checked out. Bro is me when you have like a fucking meeting that you don't want to be there for, where everyone's just talking about how we need to circle back to the quarterly reviews, and you're like, I'm booting up League, man. I'm booting it up. You know, I got this meeting without me.
Under Barack Obama, 3 million people got deported. He was the greatest deporter of immigrants in the history of the United States as a president, right? Way more than Trump. Nobody on the left gave a damn. No one on the left even really knows the number.
That's not true.
Right?
That's not true. There were protests during Obama's time as well.
The left calls him the deporter in chief as a criticism all the time.
Hang on.
Liberals didn't care, but the left did care.
Hang on, Brianna.
Why is he yelling?
No one on the left cared because it was Saint Barack, okay?
That is absolutely not.
What? His response? What? Larkin is building up, gathering energy, calibrating his aim. You can't just respond to things that are factually true with nuh-uh. What?
Biden comes along.
Answers the question, gets angry when she answers. All right.
Hang on. Please stop making speeches.
Hang
then
on.
Biden comes along and he allows up to 10 million people to cross the border illegally into the United States. Then Trump replaces him, partly because of what Biden did on the border. That's why he gets re-elected. And he immediately closes the southern border. Your view, unless I'm wrong, is that you basically reopen the border to whoever wants to come in. And my question for you, for the last time, if you don't want to answer it, it's fine, is under your plan, how many would you let in over the border illegally into the United States? It's a simple question.
My view is that it is deeply naive and frankly sort of...
Like, what does he want her to say exactly? 5? 100? Is she supposed to perfectly guess the correct number? I just don't understand. If you let them in legally, how are they still illegal then? How many illegals would you let in? Well, 0, because if we're letting them in, they're not illegal anymore. What the fuck? Sorry.
Dim-witted to believe that the solution to global immigration crisis, which is only going to get...
I like the framing, talking about it like it's like you're bartering with someone. Like, well, I don't know how many migrants you got. What? How many do I want? Well, how many do you got? I mean, I'm open to it. Me, the last time I went, there's like this one company that makes edibles that I like. And then like once a month, honestly, it's close to once a month, I get kind of high and I have some fun. And by have some fun, I mean eat shit at League of Legends. And I get so, I'm like, dude, these games are so hard. They're so wow, these games are like, are they cheating? They must be using hacks. It's like, meanwhile, like you check the replay when you're sober and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, I'm just like walking forward. Anyways, so they have these like really nice, really dope edibles. And the last time I went, I prefer to just go and pick up a bunch and then I just have enough for like a year. Because I don't get high that often because it interrupts my ability to work most of the time. The last time I went, they were like, "Oh, we're taking these out of stock soon." And I was like, "Well, how many?" I kind of want to get some because they're really good. She's like, "How many do you want?" I was like, "How many do you got?" She's like, "Well, we have 10 here." I was like, "Okay." We got some in the back, or I'm down for 10 or more. What else how many do you got? She's like, "Well, Let me go. Let me. All right. Let me go see. Let me go see. You know, let me go check. Okay, we got 10 more. Yeah, you know what? Give me 20 bags. And it's California weed, which is really good and really cheap. It's like, it's crazy how expensive weed is in other states, dude. I gotta admit, when I went to New York semi recently, like a couple years ago, when I went back, sorry, making myself more comfortable. They had just legalized weed in New York, and I was like, well, I gotta try it. And it was like, not good. And it was really expensive. It was like $60 for like this tiny bag of edibles that sucked. I was like, okay, California has one thing going for it. They got one thing going for them, all right? All right. Okay? You get so much weed for $50. I was on vacation. I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's try it out. It was pretty mediocre. But anyways, I wanted to skip ahead a little bit to let our guest speak. Yes. All right, let's go.
Effectively, would you reopen the border and allow anyone to come in?
We are so far from the conversation of how the United States is not respecting internationally agreed upon standards for the right of refugees to seek asylum at our border. We're trying all of these tricks and trades, and Joe Biden did it the same way.
Do you think all 10 million people? Hang on. Oliver. Do you think all 10 million that came in Biden's 4 years were legitimate refugees and asylum seekers, or were the vast majority people just wanting a better life in America but not wanting to do it legally?
I think people who are coming to the United States are seeking a better life. And let's be clear, we're talking about immigration as if it is a criminal violation when
we're also talking about immigration as if it's so easy to do legally. There are people who have been on wait lists to get their visas in the United States for literally decades. If it was so easy to do, and we actually, I don't know, had enough civil servants to go through any of the immigration documents that need to get gotten through, people wouldn't choose illegal pathways. They choose illegal pathways because they need to seek asylum now. Like, this is such a, there are some issues that are complicated and there are some issues that are simple. And, or rather, there are some issues where the solution is simple. And this is one where the solution is very simple, where at least there is one easy thing that we can do right now, immediately, which is actually, I don't know, look at any of the applications of people who are currently trying to seek asylum or trying to immigrate.
it is immigration that is not documented, but this is a civil infraction, not a
at Denims, my dad has been denied for 12 years, even though his whole family lives in America.
Criminal infraction.
Well, it is a crime. It is a crime to enter a country illegally.
It is a civil infraction. It's not a criminal act. It's a civil ordinance that is not the same as treating people who are
you accept
breaking
it's unlawful.
The United States has.
Oh, it's unlawful? Yeah, well, guess what? Jeff Bezos parks wherever the fuck he wants. Why? Because we don't have day fines in this country, so it's just the cost of doing business for him to park next to a fire hydrant. Should we treat him like a criminal? The answer is yes, for different reasons. Because he is robbing the American people blind and refusing to pay taxes back into the system that enriched him. However, neither here nor there, not to get on my soapbox for a moment, there is a massive difference between a civil infraction and a criminal offense. And to treat all migrants as if they're these hardened criminals only serves to villainize immigrants more and more and more and more, right? Like, you wouldn't treat someone who was jaywalking as a hardened criminal. Look, grandma's crossing the street and it's a red light. Yeah, officers, arrest her. Can you tase her as well? Beat the shit out of her. Shoot her dog too. 10 years in prison, minimum. Of course not. Okay? That is grandma, shut up. of course not. You wouldn't view it that way. Like, the type of offense matters. The whether or not it is definitionally unlawful matters significantly less than what type of offense it is.
A system that is literally making people lose their documented status, when we have the Department of Homeland Security that is invalidating temporary protected status for our Haitian neighbors.
Yeah, but Oliver Larkin, do you accept that if you enter, do you accept, Oliver Larkin, if you accept, hang on,
Oliver.
I want to be clear about, I want to be clear what you think. Do you, hang on, Oliver, do you?
Sorry. Dude, Oliver Larkin is gonna have to disavow me for being anti-British with these Piers Morgan with the Piers Morgan invitation. Hang on.
As a point of principle, that if you enter the United States illegally, you are breaking the law. Yes or no?
I think that this is a civil violation. It is not a criminal violation. And frankly,
is it unlawful?
Who are entering the United States.
Answer the question,
Do you think it's lawful or unlawful?
We need to add more capacity.
Is it lawful or
for
unlawful?
Immigration judges for.
He literally said it's a civil offense. That tells you everything you need to know. It's not very helpful to just describe everything that is unlawful as unlawful, by the way. If you guys might know. If you guys, might not have guessed already, it's actually more important to describe things, especially civil or criminal offenses, by the degree of criminality or moral disgust you may feel. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, the immigrant that comes to the United States that works less than minimum wage. And stands at Home Depot offering to paint my walls. Oh my God, how will I survive this horrible experience where I left Home Depot with a bucket of paint and two gentlemen were like, paint, you want? We can paint. Do you need painter? No, I'm going to paint it myself. You need painter? No, I'm good. You sure? I'm good. I'm really. Thanks though. I appreciate it, but I'm good by that. Thanks. I don't know, man. I don't really think that person is impacting my life in a negative way.
People to be able to get documentation because we are so under capacity when it comes to people. It is so cost prohibitive for people, for immigrants to be able to even maintain documented status. They're forced to wait. They're forced to travel overnight to take off of work. I've been to these facilities, Piers, in Miramar, the ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations Center. People are being forced to sleep on the floor in air-conditioned rooms that are lit 24/7 while their families are outside. They've had to drive from Venice, Florida, or Sarasota, or Titusville 3-4 hours and taking off work at the drop of a hat just to be able to maintain their status. So we make it so hard on immigrants.
It's just that whether it's unlawful, even if it is unlawful, the punishment should meet the crime. Like, it's just so, whatever.
A hat just to be able to maintain their status. So we make it so hard on immigrants to be able to even maintain status once they've obtained it. And then we have the Department of Homeland Security that is just blanket invalidating people's status.
But that's a different issue.
And they do this to manufacture a political
but
crisis.
hang on, Oliver.
In Trump's first administration that the sanctions on Venezuela would create the conditions for migration.
Oliver, I'm not defending everything Trump's done on immigration.
But is it unlawful, though?
And I thought some of the behavior of ICE was disgusting, including the deaths of people in the street, as we saw, which I thought was repulsive and called it out at the time. It went way over the top. However, if I was an American citizen, I would much prefer to have a secure, closed border, pretty much, that Trump has brought in, to the porous, open border.
Who fucking asked? You're not, though, so shut the fuck up, bitch.
That Biden allowed. And my question for you is now the same one I gave to Brianna that she didn't want to answer, which is if you have your utopia,
like my answer for.
if you have the democratic socialist utopia, then how many illegal immigrants would you allow into the country?
The system that I believe we should have is one where people are receiving documentation when they apply for asylum or when they apply to immigrate at our borders. So it's sort of a red herring question of what is the level that is acceptable. I want people to be able to receive the documentation to be able to work and live freely in the United States and not have this legal limbo hanging over people's heads. I mean, we're treating amnesty as if it's a dirty word. Ronald Reagan, you invoked Ronald Reagan's name. Ronald Reagan supported amnesty. I believe that we need to have amnesty.
You know it's bad when fucking Reagan is in favor of a policy. Like, even when the fucking devil himself is like, okay, we should have some amnesty, though. Like, I think you reevaluate, you're like, oh, even the devil thinks that this should be allowed? Okay, fuck, all right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in this. One chatter said, my girl's been out here on a work permit. They changed the rules for the visa work permit suddenly, and she couldn't work anymore until she figured it out. Until it was figured out, which took years. This whole visa immigration shit is bullshit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are also, like, just in general, lots of things that are... We have, like, a lot of bureaucracy that exists only to make everyone's life worse. Because all of our government bodies are incredibly underfunded, by the way. Except the Pentagon. We always have more money for the Pentagon. Like other states, other nations, they just tell you what you owe them at on tax day, in tax season. They don't tell you, ooh, let's play a little riddle. Let's play a game. You guess how much you owe me, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. And if you're wrong, I'll charge you more and then also give you a penalty for not guessing correct. If you know the number, just tell me what I owe you, dude. What? Why are we playing a game? What is this? Am I in a call with Laura Loomer? Just tell me what I owe you. Why the fuck do I have to pay H&R Blog a couple $100 to do this when you should just be able to tell me what I owe you? What the hell? If you are, sorry, to be clear, if you're a W-9 worker, obviously if you're a freelancer, it's a little bit more complicated, but most people are W-9 workers. Most people they don't work on 1099s as contractors. So there's no reason for it to be more complicated than that. It's all tied to your social security number. Or sorry, W-2. Why did I say W-9? I think it's an I-9, but W-2, excuse me. Like, why? This is so, it's obviously just because of TurboTax lobby. Yes, it is more difficult on purpose to make everyone else's lives worse, but at least the company gets to make some money off you. W so good, they made a W2. I-9 is authorization document. Thank you. Sorry about that. What was I trying to say? And there's a lot of things like that just exist for no reason. Like some states I know when you request, and I think it's the case in California, when you lose your ID, if it's not expired and you have a lot of time on it, they'll just send you another ID. They'll literally mail it to you. Why is that not the case for every DMV? If you lose your ID and the address that you have on file is all accurate and you can authenticate your identity, why can't they just send you the new ID and then, like, cancel the last ID in every state? Why the fuck do people have to go in person to just get a new ID reprinted? That should just be a completely online thing. Sorry, when I say state, I mean, like, that's how it is in California, or some districts in California, or counties rather. But in other counties in the United States, that's not the case. In other counties in the United States, you have to go in person. You have to go in person to get a new ID. And it's like, but why can't this work the way that credit cards work, where credit card companies can just send you a new ID, a new card, and then your old one is void? Like, it's so unnecessarily difficult for no fucking reason. IDs don't change numbers. Well, yeah, but there are other ways to identify an identification card. You're not thinking like a hacker, those. These difficulties are built in to prevent social engineering. You know, people can just get fake IDs, right? It's way easier to just get a fake ID from a guy who makes fake IDs than it is to find somebody else who, and you know their whole identity, and you ship it to their address, and then what, you stalk their door to get their ID? Like, that's way more work and time and energy. And also, like, a super giga crime. Whereas getting fake IDs is way easier and way harder to get caught with. Like, what? So, huh? It's also way more felonies to steal someone else's ID than it is to make a fake? Yeah. Like, huh? That's way more difficult. Like, that's not. Mm-mm. Fake IDs are way too ubiquitous. But, like, the thing is, it's like, you can't even do anything with a fake ID other than, like, what, get into a bar? Because once you have to scan a fake ID, you're fucked, right? So, like, it's not like you can even really use it for anything. That's also not what hacker means. Let's not get into it. Anyways, I also wanted to talk about this really fast. We're speed running to make sure we get through everything. Hillary Clinton warns Democrats that GOP's anti-communist platform will be a very effective attack. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton warned the Democratic Party that it needs to find a way to work with far left candidates ahead of the midterms because the GOP's anti-communist messaging is going to be a very effective attack. In a Friday episode, tech journalist Kara Swisher podcast, Pivot with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway, Clinton discussed progressive Dr. Abdul El-Sayed's narrow primary win in Michigan this week over Representative Haley Stevens, a moderate. The real fight will be, how do we make sure that people who voted for Haley feel comfortable voting for Abdul El-Sayed, and how do we get independents to feel comfortable? Considering that she needed to get $50 million in AIPAC money, I think people's initial desire is to vote for the populist candidate. And when I say populist, I'm obviously talking left-wing populist because right-wing populism doesn't exist. If it was a narrow win and they had the same amount of finances, I would be more concerned. But when one party got an additional $50 million in AIPAC money and then they lost, it's impressive at all that the other candidate won. Yeah, it was 32 in AIPAC ad, 60 million from PACs in general. Oh, I thought it was like, last time I checked, it was, maybe it's changed, or maybe that reporting was initially incorrect. I thought it was 50 million from AIPAC. No, 30 million. You're right. 30 million was spent by AIPAC, and over 50 million was spent from PACs in general. Oh, and it seems like some people are clinging to the 50 million because some of the other PACs are associated with AIPAC. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, there was $11 million from a newly formed super PAC that didn't disclose its donors or had yet to disclose its donors, which made people suspicious that it was from some AIPAC associated PAC. But okay. I think total PAC money was over 70 million. Yeah. It's not just about Michigan, but the Republican messaging is communist social. It's going to be a very effective attack. People on the left have to be prepared to answer that and be effective at answering that. Your strategy was to fund Trump's campaign. If I wanted like a guide on how to kill as many brown children as possible in the Middle East, I would hit you up, Hillary. When it comes to effective messaging and strategy for winning a campaign with the American people, I think we're good, man. I really think we're good, man. LOL, she knows because of how she attacked Bernie in 2016. Yeah, but it was 2016 was a very different era from it was literally a decade ago. Ugh, I didn't like that. The idea that nothing has changed in the past decade it's just not realistic. And the Red Scare propaganda doesn't work as well when there's a guy who calls himself a socialist sitting in New York making the city better every single day. I saw this post of like these garbage men that found a pair of not wedding rings, it was like just general. Oh, I thought I saved it. Did I really not save it? Oh, here it is. New York City sanitation. It isn't exactly a needle in a haystack, but some accidentally discarded rings were dug up. A Brooklyn resident recently realized some irreplaceable heirlooms were accidentally thrown out and contacted us the second he realized it. With a dumped out truck and a little bit of luck, the rings were found. We love a success story. Those are my garbage men. Our garbage men, comrade. New York under Mamdani. Like the Red Scare propaganda, it's not as effective when this is how people feel about New York City. So this like, the socialist is going to come and get you. And by come and get you, I mean come and get you your rings that you accidentally put in the trash. Don't worry, we will find them. We will make sure that we find those precious heirlooms of yours. They sound really important. We found them. Here you go. Like, it's just not effective. Oh, this is so... I lost my watch in a New York City trash bin. How do I find it? Please message us with details to see if we can help. Eric Adams would have fenced them to some Turkish friends for some airline miles is crazy. New Yorkers waking up every day like... Before we have Oliver on, also I wanted to show you guys this. I do feel a responsibility to replay the clip of him calling Trump a pedophile, but before we get there.
Oliver Larkin joins us now. Thank you for being with us on Fox News Sunday. Good to have you.
Caption is from Austin Onyx. Oliver Larkin, DSA candidate for Florida's 25th district on Fox News today. He discusses OpenAI spending $300,000 to support incumbent Jared Moskowitz, excuse me. Hasan Piker supporting him in his stance on ending all aid to Israel.
Thank you so much for having me on, Shannon.
I want to start your reaction to the James Carvilles, the Van Jones of the world who say DSA does not belong in the Democrat Party. It doesn't align with their interests. Is the idea to, within the party, force the party to mold to your ideas, or do you think you can just exist within the tent?
I think it's very funny to hear James Carville talking about an AI stupid idea generator when there's $300,000 in super PAC spending from OpenAI's super PAC going for Jared Moskowitz in our district right now. I do think that James Carville and Van Jones are missing something, that electoralism is about addition, not subtraction, and I think it is very foolhardy to be excluding people from the Democratic Party that they're going to be begging for our votes in 2028, and we need to be building a majoritarian coalition that's capable of winning back power in states like Florida and taking back the House of Representatives.
So let's talk about your district specifically, where you are challenging an incumbent. You mentioned Congressman Jared Moskowitz. The Miami Herald says you're not the man for the job. They say in a district that's 25% Jewish, they've endorsed your competitor. They say this, the editorial board writing, Larkin said he does not consider anti-Zionism to be anti-Semitic, but that's disingenuous. He must know full well that many or even most Jews see anti-Zionism as a less obvious but still potent form of anti-Semitism. He may try to add his own spin to the term, but it remains offensive and is a dog whistle that no doubt appeals to anti-Semites. So what's your...
Okay, well, the OK symbol is a dog whistle. Buying and drinking milk is a dog whistle for white supremacists. So anyone who ever uses them obviously must also be a white supremacist, right? What is this backwards ass logic? Are there, in fact, anti-Semites that use the word Zionist? Yes. But anti-Semites that feel comfortable enough being anti-Semitic will also full send it and just be anti-Semitic. In fact, I can't think, like a great example is like Nick Fuentes. It's not like Nick Fuentes spends all his time dog whistling. He kind of just says at some point all the anti-Semitic shit that he thinks, and then does Holocaust revisionism, and outwardly calls himself a Nazi, and then outwardly just talks about Jewish people. So like it's so disingenuous to be like, well, how can we trust someone who's using words that mean what they mean, but other people use them in a different way? It's like, what?
Message to Jewish voters there in that district.
That they're a part of our coalition, and I will note that the South Florida Sun Sentinel, which declined to endorse Jared Moskowitz in this race, made his assertion that I'm running against him solely for his religion patently false. They listed the Medicare for All, $25 an hour, universal child care, paid family and medical leave. So there's some contentious issues that we're dealing with down here in South Florida, and the media is not a monolith, and the South Florida Sun Sentinel rightfully called out Jared Moskowitz's claim as false, and we reject the claim that anti-Zionism is equatable to anti-Semitism. I'm proud to have the support of Jewish organizations like Jewish Voice for Peace, and we're building a coalition for our collective liberation to stand up against anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-black racism, anti-queer discrimination, and for the well-being and equality of all people who call our nation home.
You also have support from someone named Hasan Piker. He has made a lot of headlines. He's helped fundraise for you. The Anti-Defamation League says he's got a history of rhetoric that sanitizes and justifies violence and terrorism against the state of Israel and using derogatory rhetoric towards Jews. That claims that they say Orthodox Jews are inbred, which he did subsequently apologize for in response to backlash. He calls for the eradication of Zionism.
This is incredible. This is an amazing Fox News smear. Holy shit.
And demonizes Zionism as a, quote, mental illness. I could go on. He said a lot of things that are offensive to Jewish people.
I mean, yes, in 2026, being in favor of an ethno-state, regardless of who the ethno-state is meant to protect, that is mental illness. No one should be for an ethno-state. No one should be for any state that treats one people based off of innate qualities as worth more than another people. People are people, and they should be treated with the same level of respect and be given the same dignity in every state. And if you are against that for one particular state, that's insane. You are an ill person to think that. You don't get a pass because it's your group of people or some other group of people or whatever. There is no ethno-state that should exist. There should be no ethno-states that treat one people as more than or worth more than or better than another group of people. Like, what?
And to those who support Israel, do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
I think that Israel should be a secular and democratic state with equal rights for all people, and the current configuration of the
That's my goat, dude. Yes. Yes, I am so happy. And I don't know how much of this was, maybe we can ask him on the broadcast. How much of this was influenced by Mamdani's decision to do the same during that one debate, where Mamdani said, and it was the first time I had seen it. I'm sure it wasn't the first time it had happened, but it was the first time I saw like a large candidate reframe the question that way and say, I believe that Israel has a right to exist as a state with equal rights for all of its people. Because it's like a perfect counter.
The state of Israel is a religious supremacist, one that privileges Jewish citizens above Palestinians, and we see a two-tiered system of justice in the West Bank that's been under illegal occupation since 1967 with illegal West Bank Israeli settlers under Israeli civil law, and Palestinians who have called this their ancestral home being subject to Israeli military law with upwards of a 95% conviction rate. So if
we had more time before Oliver comes on the stream, I would have shown you guys again the video that shows what is it called? Why am I blanking? Oh, the Palestinian family that literally they had a checkpoint built outside of their front door. Oh, you want to go get groceries? Yeah, pass through the checkpoint. Oh, you want to have a friend over to your house? Ooh, yeah, they don't pass the checkpoint. Sorry. Yep. Mm-mm. Maybe
Tiered system of justice, the two-tiered political system in Israel is not one that I think the United States should be supportive of if we believe in upholding democracy, not just here, but around the world.
Do you think that we should cut off defensive weapons, either by purchase or by us supplying them to Israel, defensive weapons?
I do not make a distinction between offensive and defensive weaponry. Israel has been rightfully attributed as committing a genocide and apartheid. Virtually every international body that has studied this issue, from the United Nations multiple inquiries, the Amnesty International group, even Israeli human rights organizations, including B'Tselem. And when the United States is in violation of not just international law, but our own law, the Leahy laws that prohibit the Department of State and Department of Defense from providing military assistance to foreign security forces accused of gross human rights violations, we're in violation of our own law right now. And so at minimum, we need to condition this aid. But if it were up to me, I do not think that we should be aiding and abetting a genocide by either providing taxpayer-funded weaponry or selling it.
Okay, Hasan Piker also famously said that America deserved 9/11. Do you think we deserve 9/11?
No, of course not. No, I think Hasan has walked back that statement, and no, I do not agree with that whatsoever.
Okay.
And I'm going to say, I do think, unfortunately, the general public is not ready for the stance that blowback exists and blowback is real. But I also know for a fact that Hasan doesn't give a fuck about all these people throwing him under the bus. And I don't mean that like disrespectfully. I mean, Hasan cares about candidates winning. And if you got to condemn Hank Piker, fucking condemn Hank Piker, explaining blowback on Fox News. Listen, one step at a time, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is Hasan built like a fridge, but he can tank like a fridge. Let him tank. Let him tank, man. I have to pee really quickly, and then we'll be bringing Oliver on. But I feel like I just staying too hydrated. Here.
Act Blue advertised a gathering for you in Brooklyn on Friday night. The host committee listed, including Linda Sarsour. She has said things like, you can't humanize Israelis. They are the enemy. You can never work with them. She's advocated for a one-state solution, meaning no Israel. Do you understand how having people like that supporting you in a fundraiser or any other way is very troublesome to Jewish people?
Again, Linda's not a candidate for office, and I think when she talks about one secular and democratic state with equal rights, that's a principle that most Americans support. I don't think we want to be supporting a country where there's a two-tiered system of justice, where people do not enjoy the same political or even rights of movement with the fragmentation of the West Bank and the construction of illegal.
He was muted. I was going to say, it's not lost on me that like candidates will say the most insane shit on the right and they can get away with it. And they'll do the most, like Trump is literally a felon. And that's fine. But did you disavow this person who donated money to you? It's like, oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, allow me to begin the call. Oh my God, I'm so excited. All right, let's bring Oliver on. The closer the interview gets, the more and more energetic. Like your ADHD is acting up. Yes, and. Alrighty. Let me. I think the easiest way to do this will be, let's call really quickly. Okay, and we'll pop it out, and then. Okay. Oh. Hello? Where's my tab? Sorry, one sec. Give me one moment to fix this up. let's do this. Okay. All right. And then allow me to. Yes, I can hear you. All right. Sorry, give me 1 second for these mild technical difficulties. And then window capture. Perfect. There we go. Let's see. Yes. Beautiful. Great. All right. Okay, stream should be able to see you. Could I ask really quickly if you could turn on audio? It's not compression, but there should be a setting if you look on Discord and search it up under, it's called crisp. There should be like a noise suppression. Okay. That might work. Let's see.
Okay.
Oh,
I just
you sound great. You sound perfect now.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, excellent. There was so much static. I know Discord has made some strides in improving their audio. So even if you're outside, which it seems like you are, you should still sound great.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm in a little Palestinian restaurant, enjoying some Turkish coffee. I'm meeting some folks here in a little bit. So yeah, I'm running around today. And so sadly, I don't have Luna, the cat, here, but maybe we can have a nice treat incentive for later on. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
To forgive for not having Luna. That's okay. It's okay. My cats are also, they've also decided to not show up right now, but that's okay. That's just the cat behavior, though. Well, thank you for coming on the broadcast. Sorry that this was, it's been such a whirlwind. There has been so much stuff happening all of the time. But thank you for making the time to come on here. Thank you for being patient with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and thank you, Denims, for having me on. I know we've been on some gaming streams together, so I'm really glad that I can join you on your stream officially. For everyone in chat, my name is Oliver Larkin. I'm a DSA candidate, a Democratic Socialist running in the Democratic primary for Florida's 25th Congressional District. Our district is coastal Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County. So from Delray Beach down to Miami Beach after the illegal gerrymander that Republicans passed in the legislature. And I'm running on a platform of Medicare for all, of universal child care, paid family and medical leave, abolishing ICE, ending U.S. military aid to Israel, fighting for free Palestine, and really investing our taxpayer dollars at home, and also taking on the corruption in Congress, the post-Citizens United campaign finance industry, where we should have public financing of elections, banning congressional stock trading, and investing in universal policies. I think the Democratic Party has just gone way too far down the rabbit hole of means testing and trying to be exclusionary, and shooting themselves in the foot and losing every single swing state in the process. And states like mine and Florida have gone further and further to the right, and we're being represented currently by a representative in Jared Moskowitz, who, well, I'm sure we'll get into him, but very, very, very different than our DSA platform. Jared Moskowitz is a DeSantis Democrat, among other things. If anyone in chat knows how to define that,
DeSantis
he certainly
Democrat. Democrat.
Yeah. Quotation marks. And yeah, I'm a former Bernie Sanders campaign organizer. I organized a union in my workplace with the News Guild Communication Workers of America. So organizing and labor are real, strong points of where I'm coming into this race from, and how I kind of orient myself as a aspiring legislator and member of Congress. I think, the Democratic Party needs to be the party of the working class. But because so far it's been unwilling to fully commit to that, I've also been, very happy to build this parallel power structure with the Democratic Socialists of America, to kind of show the way forward for the way that our country should be. And, that this movement is not just restricted to the quote unquote deep blue areas. It's for everywhere in the country, including purple districts like ours in South Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that I think like we've already tried like the milquetoast Democrats time and time and time and time again. And it's very motivating that both candidates are running and that they have candidates like yourself are running and that they have momentum to run. Because I remember like the Justice Democrats way back when, and there wasn't enough momentum. There was like AOC had huge pull. I mean, I voted for AOC back in the day. And she was like one of the few that I think actually got to be talked about, and her policies got to get talked about, but it felt like it tapered out. And I do feel like if there was anything good to come out of the Trump presidency, he has so completely, totally destroyed all of our political systems and all the remaining trust that still exists in our system, that the only solution against someone like Trump is not someone who will just peddle more milquetoast responses. We need big change in response to Trump, not, okay, well, we can have more of the same. We can have more of the same. Like, how much of a factor do you think it plays that, like, we are where we are now, and that's maybe why a democratic socialist can really break through?
Yeah, I think this has been the kind of trajectory of the country since Obama's election and the Great Recession, because he ran on, these really big aspirational policies, even though, maybe people scanned onto him more progressive policies than he eventually enacted.
I know you
but I think
have worked with his campaign, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I volunteered as a teenager on his campaign, but I quickly became disillusioned. I was involved in climate organizing in high school, and when I saw the Senate, fail to pass climate legislation when there were 59, maybe even a filibuster-proof Senate majority, and a massive majority in the House of Representatives, and we got no climate change legislation. We got no codified protections for abortion rights. We really did not see a lot of the passage of policy that we thought Obama was running on. And when I was organizing for the Sanders campaign, I heard so many people, especially in semi-open primary states like New Hampshire, where I spent a great deal of time, where people were at the tail end of Obama's second term, and there was all of this gridlock in Congress, and we hadn't even experienced Donald Trump yet, and yet people were telling me, I'm going to vote for Bernie or I'm going to vote for Trump. These are political independents who said the system, the status quo is broken. We were still in the hangover of the Great Recession. Wall Street had gotten off, without anyone going to prison for crashing the global economy. And that to me was, really proof positive that the American people, when there's like the pundit brain of like, what does an independent voter want? And, the James Carvilles and David Axelrods and Van Jones will say, they just want you to like split hairs and split the difference between the two parties, rather than independent voters overwhelmingly rejecting the two-party corruption, the fact that both parties are bought off by corporate interests. So I think, and Donald Trump was elected twice on that. He was just as vicious in calling out Republicans in the 2016 primary,
I mean, people,
as he was in calling out the Democrats.
But like people voted, and if you talk to Trump voters, which I'm sure you've talked to plenty at this point, they will tell you across the board, oh, I'm voting for him because he's an outsider. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. It's like, okay, the guy who bankrupted a bunch of casinos is the guy that you're going to vote. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But they don't want another politician that splits hairs, that lies to them, that tells them, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Like, they want a candidate that actually will push for policies that are actionable, that are clear. And to sort of segue and ask about your opinion on this, I'm sure you and everyone else has been very excited about Abdullah Sayed's win in the primary. And I think like that is the best sort of example that people want good candidates, that policy matters. There was this clip that I saw of Haley Stevens where she's asked about climate change and like any policies that she might have that are for climate change. I'm not sure if you had seen this. I think it was either from a debate or an appearance on like CNN or something like that. And she basically just gives a bunch of non-answers. She just says, we're going to hire the people that are going to do the things that need to get done. And we're going to fight against Trump. This is so important. And it's like, are you going to list just like any policy? Like, dude, just say you're going to build like 100 windmills. Just say anything at this point, please. Like anything. Like, dude, we don't want to hear, I'm going to do the things that you need me to do. It's just, I think it's really just tired. And I'm not sure how much of this you have noticed with voters and how much of this you have felt and how much of an impact it's had on your campaign. But I can't imagine people want more Haley Stevens, considering that she got $70 million in PACs and still lost. I feel like there's some water to be held there.
Yeah, I mean, you're also describing kind of Jared Moskowitz's politics, where he like when he chooses to campaign among Democrats, which is exceedingly rare. He's made a bare handful of appearances. I just had the first event that he also decided to join last Wednesday. It was a virtual candidate forum with one of our local Indivisible chapters, and of course he gave his remarks first and refused to participate if there was any recording of the event, and then he left before I even had a chance to give my remarks. And you know what his assertion is like, this is how he campaigns to Democrats. He's like, you're not going to agree with me on a lot of stuff, but I'm the only one that can win this seat. And it's like, okay, bro, like if you're really just going to like among the party that you like say you're a part of, if your first thing that you're telling people is you're not going to agree with me on everything. I mean, sure, like people are not going to agree with me. Democrats are not going to agree with me on Palestine, you know, in every single case. But that's not what I'm leading on. I'm not leading on like, you're not going to agree with me. It's like, where do we find common ground? I think that's just, you know, regardless of being like on the left, like that's just good politics. And what we see right now is like, you know, this feeling among centrists, among moderates, among conservatives that like if people are getting mad at you, you're doing a good job, or if people are like vocally disagreeing with you, then you're like really speaking truth to power instead of just like taking a wholly unpopular position. So I think, yeah, that same framing of like Jared Moskowitz is like, I'm, you know, the only one that can win this seat, and you know, love me or hate me, you're just going to have to swallow it, because what else are you going to have? Donald Trump or Mike Johnson as the speaker? It's not enough for people after losing 2 presidential elections to Donald Trump to hear this just fallacy of like, I'm the only one that can win. And, you know, to bring it back to Michigan and Abdul, which has been so thrilling to see, it's like, that is, and I know he doesn't describe himself as a democratic socialist, but you know, he shares many of the policy prescriptions: Medicare for all, getting money out of politics, you know, free Palestine, and end to U.S. military aid to Israel. And I think, you know, showing that is winning. It's winning over Democratic voters in a swing state, in a state that Kamala Harris lost in 2024, is so incredibly powerful. That is going to, you know, just be so much momentum. And I think, you know, similar with our race in a House district in an R+3 seat that Joe Biden won in 2020, that Donald Trump won in 2024, you know, showing that our brand of politics can win in districts and states like Michigan and an R+3 House district in South Florida. You know, this is what we are going to need to show that, you know, this is not just a few progressive or left members of Congress. Like, we are actually capable of building a governing coalition to enact these policies. So I think it's really been just so inspiring to see these other wins, not just in the deep blue places, but you know, in Michigan.
I mean, I think also there was this sort of like opinion that oh, Mamdani won New York, but New York always goes blue. So like, and they're a crazy liberal city. But you know, Mamdani winning was actually still pretty impressive. Running as a Democratic Socialist in New York was still like an impressive feat. Also, I think he was like the first New York Queens mayor, so represent. And I have to say, I think okay, and this is just maybe just my personal opinion, but I feel like there was a period of time where prior to Trump, or like I would say during the Bernie Sanders, right after Bernie Sanders' campaign, there was like a deep sadness of like, oh, well, maybe people just like aren't ready for these candidates right now. And I think everyone was really dejected for a bit, or that was what like the political vibe felt like. And I feel like on the back of a lot of these Democratic Socialist or DSA candidates, or, you know, DSA sort of aligned candidates like Abdullah Sayed, there is this, I think, very excited feeling that candidates can win and that the policies can win and they can beat $70 million of PACs, or $30 million from APAC. And I think that that's a very exciting and motivating thing, especially in like this, I would say, this large desire to push everyone towards doomerism and like this doomerist ideology of, oh, well, there's nothing we can do and the climate is completely screwed and we can't save the US. And I feel that on some degree, and I feel that to some level. But I also, especially having lived in Florida for a year, it can be very disheartening at times. But here you are, you're running this campaign, you're running it in Florida, you're saying Democratic Socialists can win. We can win against losers like Jared Moskowitz, if that's not too harsh to say. I mean, the guy, he was the guy behind the, he was the only Democrat that was like pro-Doge, if I'm not mistaken.
He was the first Democrat to join Doge. Even before Trump was sworn in, he was putting out a press release proudly stating Moskowitz becomes first Democrat on bipartisan Doge caucus. And then we saw it completely, you know, gut the federal government. And
people saw like they lost their jobs. Like they were like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow. A friend of mine who works for the government, they showed me one of the emails they got. And I'm not joking. It was an email that looks like it was written by a 20-year-old whose entire political philosophy is watching Joe Rogan, that said, tell us the 3 things you did today. What do you do at your job? From Doge. And people lost their jobs to that. Like, it's insane.
It's like taking the Office Space movie of like, tell me exactly what it is you do here, and like making that the actual policy of the United States federal government. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. So, I mean, Jared Moskowitz, like this is someone who, you know, when he says he's the only one that can win this district, to my mind, you know, we've got a twice appointed Ron DeSantis Democrat. He still doesn't have a bad word to say about DeSantis. We have the first Democrat on the Doge caucus. We have someone who has, whether it's trading stocks or taking APAC money or voting to censure Al Green or Rashida Tlaib, or being the only Democrat in our state delegation to vote for the Laken Riley Act that's given ICE all of this power to detain and deport people. I mean, this is a district that is like 30% Latino people from all over Cuba, Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua, Haiti, like all over Central, South America, and the Caribbean that are being targeted by this administration. How is it possible to conceive that someone with this record that is this against what is mobilizing not just Democrats, but independent voters and young people, the people that are going to be necessary to win in November, like, it would be shooting ourselves in the foot to nominate someone who is going to blunt the momentum on every single one of these issues that is mobilizing people, you know, on basic principles of morality. And I think that's why, you know, with our race, what we've seen, we put out a poll a few days ago that found that among people that have already voted or have yet to vote, we're statistically tied. According to this snapshot in time, middle of the week last week, we have Jared Moskowitz at 40%, we're at 38%, and 22% of voters are still undecided. So your donations, and I know we've got a pinned comment in chat here where you can sign up to donate at the special link that we've set up for Denims stream. You can donate there, and we're putting these resources directly back out into the field with our campaign literature, with our yard signs, with our digital advertisements, with giving our volunteers the tools they need to mobilize. I know that just yesterday, we knocked on over 3,000 doors across Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade County. We are mobilizing people in a real way. Our volunteers really believe that this is possible, and what we're hearing from voters is that they really are ready for this change, that they don't buy into these preconceived notions that, you know, Jared Moskowitz is still running on, when ultimately, you know, this is someone who was handpicked by his, you know, lobbyist dad and political power broker connections to be seated on the Parkland City Commission when he was still in law school in his 20s. I mean, this is someone who's like 45, 46 years old and has only ever been in elected office. And what he's done in that time is, you know, befriend Matt Gaetz in the Florida legislature. Matt Gaetz is actually the one who personally lobbied Ron DeSantis to get him appointed as the director of the Department of Emergency Management, at Moskowitz's own admission, when he was touting Matt Gaetz as Attorney General nominee as being like the most powerful, most loyal, most competent, like fiercely competent AG nominee that Trump could have nominated, you know, days before. Days before.
Most confident. Sorry, go for it.
I mean, days before Matt Gaetz resigned from Congress because the ethics committee was going to put out a report on the trafficking of children. Like,
I have
like
to say,
Moskowitz
so
named-
that's what I was going to say. Matt Gaetz being the most competent, when you look at his, like, I think it was PayPal or Venmo receipts, and the Venmo receipt is like $500 for being a great friend. Here's $300 just because. And all of the people he's sending it to are like teenage girls. It's like, oh, you know, the classic sending your 17-year-old friend $500 as like a 30-something-year-old man for being a great friend. Like,
and
who?
This
This
is
is the most,
being the plug, right?
this is the most confident guy. The most he couldn't even bother to try and hide his tracks a little bit. Like, at least make the Venmo request say like for the weed. Like, that's believable. I'd be like, oh, okay, like maybe he's just the plug then. Like, okay, that makes sense. If you say for being a great friend, how am I supposed to think that that's anything other than you soliciting sex from minors? What? So, sorry, Mac, I just wanted to say also, everyone here, you guys should absolutely donate. You should click the pinned link. We've already raised $1,100. Let's try and hit the goal. Okay, we're only $150 off the first goal. Maybe we can up it even more. But please, if you go to secure.actblue.com/donate/denims, or just go to the pinned chat message, let's get some donations. And you know that the money is all going to a good place, because if someone is door knocking in the Florida heat and the Florida humidity, you know that they're door knocking for a candidate that is worth it. Okay. So if you have $5, $10, $20, whatever amount that you can, please donate to a great candidate. If you want to see more DSA endorsed candidates, this is the way to get more of those candidates. We need to use the momentum that we've built up over the past few victories that have been amazing, and get even more candidates, because we cannot have the change that we want in the Senate, in the House, at the local level, without helping the candidates that are worth helping. And if there was a candidate worth helping, it would be the first candidate that has come on the stream to talk to me, because obviously my opinion is the most important opinion of all opinions, obviously. No, but seriously, you are the first person that I have brought on specifically to, I guess, endorse, because, yeah, your campaign is absolutely the real deal. And I have a lot of respect for people who will fight battles that I think others would feel are unwinnable. And I think for a lot of people, Florida feels like that. Florida feels like a battle that is unwinnable. Like, I think a lot of people have really given up, which is sad. So I really want to push for candidates that are trying to win the unwinnable. And maybe sometimes other candidates will lose. I believe you will win. I believe that we can push as much support your way, because I want that change. I mean, you know me. I saw your commentary a little bit on, I forgot to show it on stream, I'll show it after, on the Ethan Klein lawsuit. I am a big proponent of standing up to bullies that think that they can use their money to, you know, bully the people who have less money than them, or who can't raise as much money than them. Because the unwinnable battles are not unwinnable. They are very winnable. You just have to believe, you have to support the people that you want to support, that you want to see succeed. So we just got to, oh my God, wow. we are $33 away from 1,500 actually. So let's get at least $23 more. Let's see that. Let's see that right now. All right. Someone here has $23. Let's make it happen. But
yeah, it was really
continue.
great. Yeah, we got a question at our town hall in Dania Beach recently about internet fair use laws and internet privacy. And so immediately the lawsuit with Ethan Klein came to mind for me. And I think, the fair use laws and allowing, for creative expression. And I think it was his own precedent that bit him in the ass, right? So,
Yep.
so I mean, I think, the people who are going to seek to suppress free speech or, have these double standards, which I think is, increasingly vulnerable on the internet with, I mean, we've seen Discord, try to enact, privacy, things that could divulge people's, personal identity and the kind of construct of like protecting, minors online, can oftentimes be turned around to, collect data and violate people's internet privacy in a way that, I just think is like a constitutional issue. I think if we have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy, that should be extended across digital platforms, and also freedom of speech should be protected. But yeah, I mean, I think the taking it back to Florida, I would not be running if I thought Florida was in a great place right now, or if I thought the country was going to be in a great place. Like I did not aspire to be a candidate for office. I was perfectly content for well over a decade to just be kind of in the background, like supporting as an organizer, as a campaign worker. But it just reached a point with the state of the Democratic Party, with the state of my state of Florida, with the state of the country, where this was the only remaining avenue for me to meaningfully engage with the work that I've done for over a decade, and really just being unafraid of, saying these are the politics that I think my community deserves. And I don't care, whether you think it is too lofty or too idealistic, or that we're going to have to build something completely from scratch, because we have built something completely from scratch. And look at where we are now. There's a real appetite and desire for these types of politics. And I think that is, such an important proof point for wherever people in this chat are watching from across the country. These politics can win anywhere, and it can be under the Democratic Party label, it can be under the independent label, it can be as a democratic socialist as I am. But I think on the issues, this has been one of the most galvanizing experiences, because people are knocking in the August heat and humidity because they care.
I've been there.
It would be nice.
It's bad. I will say I have never had clearer skin in my life than when I lived in Florida. My skin was flawless. It was so perfect. I can see your skin's also pretty flawless. I did not ever get a single pimple when I was in Florida. The heat, but the humidity, it keeps your skin so hydrated. So at least, they might be cooking out there. It might be hot out there for them, but at least their skin's probably doing really well.
Yeah, and I've still got some of the Fox News makeup on, probably from my Fox News Sunday appearance this morning.
Tell
so
us.
I'm sure that
Okay,
helps,
so we did watch it already, but tell us about it. Tell us. I feel like you've actually been doing a really good job with media in general, and I would say I think this is like probably one of the bigger pitfalls of candidates that want to be on the left, but they're like scared. And I don't know what they're scared of exactly, but I guess they're scared of like the unknown, because it is new territory. Like the online landscape is new territory, and associating with people like Hasan Piker is new territory. But give us an idea of your mindset about that, because I have my own opinions, but I want to get your mindset on why you don't disavow Hasan Piker.
Yeah, I think once you start backing off from previously held core convictions, it's just it's an integrity thing. It's like, what can people actually expect from you if you're going to back off of this position at the slightest pushback? I mean, I think being able to go into hostile media and reaffirm what I'm saying and what I've said on Hasan's stream, or what I said in our recent fundraiser that they referenced with Linda Sarsour's support. This is above, like, I think the Democratic Party, tries so often to like please everybody. It's like having, Bernie Sanders and the American Express CEO and back-to-back speaking slots at the DNC. I don't want to say everybody, because, they do that to the exclusion of having the first trans member of Congress appear on stage as the Trump campaign was running those disgusting transphobic ads, or, failing to have Representative Ro Rahman, who's an elected state legislative leader, speak to the material reality of U.S. military support for Israel's genocide in Gaza. I think that, the Democratic Party, with immigrants too. I mean, the first day that I launched this campaign, I sent out my press release and like my email to my email list of like friends and family only, like the people in my phone book essentially. And then I drove to Alligator Alcatraz, 2 hours away, because Trump and DeSantis were touring on the inside, and I wanted to register my disapproval on the outside. And what I said, to Status Quo News in that interview was like, I've never seen the Democratic Party just like completely abandon a community the way that they were like, there was that brief period after Trump won the popular vote in 2024 that a lot of Democrats were like, well, he won the popular vote this time. Maybe he has a point. Maybe we need to like go along to get along. Maybe we need to throw him a bone on immigration or whatever. And we ended up seeing 46 Democrats in the House vote for the Lake and Riley Act. And that's just unleashed abject terror on our communities.
I've talked about this a little bit, and I'm sure you agree considering your positions, but it feels like the Democrats see the Republicans win and they think, oh, well, it must be that they're saying something right. So if the people want Coke, let's just give them Diet Coke. But it's like, if they want Coke, they're just going to get Coke then. You admitting that the problem is the same and saying your solution will be less effective or less extreme is not the correct messaging. You should reject the premise immediately. No, immigration is not a serious problem that we need to rein in and our borders are out of control or whatever. Like, no, I reject the premise entirely. This is a country of immigrants, by immigrants, for immigrants. And if we treated immigrants in this country with any fucking respect, we would stop villainizing them all of the time when they're the ones who do the most difficult labor in our country. They pay in way more than they pay out. They commit significantly, I think it's like half as much crime as documented immigrants and U.S. citizens. And they get like the short end of the stick consistently. No, we disagree completely. We don't need to crack down on immigration and get rid of all yes, the criminals, we will treat them the same way we've already been treating them. You commit a violent offense, you commit a violent crime. If you're an American or non-American, we will make sure that the justice system punishes you accordingly based on your crime. But if you're here and you're just working, what harm is someone at Home Depot offering to paint my walls doing to this country? They're offering a service. How is that different from like a lemonade stand being run by a kid? My life is not negatively impacted. It is positively impacted by having more laborers willing to work and participate in our economic system. And if anything, economic system dictates that the immigrants, everyone else in our country should live better because, unfortunately, we exploit those laborers and we exploit that work, which we shouldn't. But even in that context, it feels like Republicans or conservatives still disagree because of framing. If we concede on everything all of the time and agree that immigrants are the problem, of course they're going to vote Republican. And it feels like there are finally, again, some candidates like yourself that are disagreeing with the framing and saying, no, absolutely not. Immigrants are not the root of all the issues in our country. The billionaires that are robbing you blind, that are making it so you can't afford health care, making it so you can't take any time off, any paid sick leave, you can't get maternity leave, you can't even have like buses that work. Like, that's not because of the immigrants. So if you want to talk a little bit about that and or any policies that you would be pushing for that you're in favor of, I would love to hear them. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear them as well.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like so fundamental to like, the whole conceit of that Fox interview where I called Trump a pedophile. Like, it started with them playing a reel of, immigrants crossing over from Morocco into Spain. And the interview started with the host being like, shouldn't people be scared of that happening here in the United States? Like, they're trying to do the migrant caravan thing that Fox News does every freaking election. And I was like, what do we have to be afraid of people coming to the United States to seek a better life? And then it was like the questions about crime. And I said the same thing that you did, Denims, of immigrants commit proportionally fewer crimes than US born citizens. And then they were like, well, what about the children that are being raped? And then we know where, I had to take that. But I think, I feel a responsibility as a candidate on the left running in a purple district to be able to go into hostile media and show that, like, this is not, my politics are not a liability in a purple district. This is actually like a sharp edge that we can take to the Republican Party, who's, platform is just so horrendous. I mean, I was sitting in the Fox News van before my interview today, and I was watching. I was sitting through the entire program, and like they're like trying not to catastrophize because the inflation is outpacing the wage growth in this country. The Iran war is totally unpopular. We're now seeing in Fox News polling that Democrats are more trusted on the economy than Republicans, and that when people assess the Trump administration's economic policies and what Republicans in Congress are working on, the majority of people say that they're designed to benefit those who are already wealthy. So
I mean,
Fox
the deficit has always ever increased more rapidly under Republicans. It's always been the case. Republican presidents always worsen the deficit, which, you know, I don't want to get too bogged down in the details of the deficit, but like they claim to care about it and then they worsen it every single time. Or even I saw the jobs report we're still at like I think a net negative. The most recent jobs report for July, I think it was either July or June, was worse than the expected amount, and then they had to correct it, and that was still worse than the corrected amount. Like,
yeah.
And these are not like vague ideas of things that are impacting us. The way that like I think the Ukraine war doesn't impact an American on a day-to-day life, so you don't really feel that. People are feeling the effects of no jobs. People are feeling the effects of no health care. Like you can't just ignore that. You can't just ignore or not recognize that the groceries are more expensive, housing is more expensive, and your wages are stagnant.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in the Fox News panel before I went on, they were talking about the price of groceries, and 2/3 of Americans think that the price of groceries is unaffordable now. So I think our platform to respond and share with folks in chat watching what our platform is really about. Like they try to paint us as radical or extreme, but the policies are like very normal and desirable. Medicare for all. The United States is the wealthiest nation on earth not to guarantee healthcare is a right. We pay twice as much per capita as other peer nations with worse outcomes, lower life expectancies. We see tremendous discrepancies in life expectancy based on income and the region that you live in. So Medicare for all, universal child care, paid family and medical leave, which the United States again is like one of a vanishingly small number of countries not to guarantee any form of paid family or medical leave. We went through a collective healthcare experience with a once-in-a-century pandemic where we were dependent upon one another for our collective health, and yet we had people going to work while they were sick because they couldn't afford to miss a paycheck and they had no protection. So I think these policies, raising the minimum wage to $25 an hour, when we look at Florida and the rightward tilt that the state has taken. This is also a state that passed a $15 an hour minimum wage amendment in 2020 at the same time that they voted majority for Donald Trump. Over 60% of Floridians voted to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We also saw in 2018, 60% plus Floridians to cross that constitutional ballot threshold of 60%, vote to restore voting rights to over 1 million Floridians. So this is a very common thing. It's not restricted to Florida. We see it in other quote unquote red states where progressive policies, if they're just packaged as a ballot referendum, separated, decoupled from the Democratic Party, they win. It's just that people don't trust Democrats to actually fight for these things. So I think that's why it's so important.
Which I think, unfortunately, when it comes to establishment Democrats, non-DSA endorsed candidates or non-affiliated, it is true that Democrats don't fight. I mean, how much time did we have to codify Roe v. Wade? And it didn't happen.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
we
were
had 2
promised
presidential
that.
administrations. Yeah.
And it didn't happen. And we're meant to keep voting for establishment Democrats that give us the most empty promises, that continue to take super PAC money, that continue to look out for the lobbies that pay their bills. Like at some point, it gets to a point. So like going back to groceries for just a moment, could you please comment on Burrito Gate?
Okay, please illuminate me. I've been so locked into campaign mode that I don't know about Burrito Gate.
So I cannot believe I'm blank. Dan Crenshaw, there we go. Dan Crenshaw made some comments. He responded to some comments about how $20 burritos are something that you can avoid. Someone was sorry, let me go back further back in the story. It was a post from someone talking about how they were speaking to voters, and one voter said, like, burrito is damn $20. Like, and nothing is affordable. And Dan Crenshaw made fun of that person and said, effectively, avocado toast, then don't buy the $20 burrito then. So would you like to give any comments there?
Yes, now that I've been illuminated, I mean, it is really funny. That I mean, the underlying issue is serious. It is just funny to see like the extension of the blaming millennial, like the whole meme of in previous years. I might be dating myself a little bit because now Gen Z is coming into its own. But for many years, like millennials killed the diamond industry, millennials killed the housing market, millennials like killed all these things that we can't afford to buy into. And it's odd that the argument from someone like Dan Crenshaw is like, well, if avocado toast is, getting in the way of you buying a home and a burrito is getting in the way of you buying a home, then like stop buying food. Like, I guess just eat ramen noodles.
Eat ramen. Yes, he told people to eat ramen.
Like, how out of touch are you that, the whole, because the other thing is like the whole conception of like avoiding raising the minimum wage, which we've avoided raising for 17 years, the longest period in US history since it was established under the New Deal framework of FDR's presidency. The whole conceit of not raising the minimum wage is like to keep prices down. And if you raise the Chipotle, counter workers wage to $15 an hour, where I would like to see it $25 an hour and $30 by 2030, then you're going to see that, immediate transfer like 100% into the cost of a burrito. But we're seeing those prices go up anyway. And it's not because of the wages that workers are making. It's because of all of the other, conditions in the economy that are leading to this inflationary aspect, whether it's, supply chain disruptions, whether it is, frankly, just corporate greed and the fact that a lot of these corporations were able to raise prices during the pandemic and in the supply chain disruption since then. And they never came back down, even after, those supply chain disruptions and, the avian flu that knocked out a lot, that really raised the price of, poultry and eggs and other things that was just, kind of ascribed to the Biden administration and, not letting the Biden administration off the hook either, but just, to speak to the material reality and the conditions that were affecting
if I'm not mistaken,
all of that inflation.
Lena Khan was pursuing a case against, I want to say it was Kroger for price gouging.
Yeah, and Kroger and Albertsons were trying to merge and have like a multi-billion-dollar merger. So we see, the real need for antitrust in especially in the agriculture and grocery industry. I mean, I remember when Zoran was running for mayor, and I would hear, I forget the guy's name, but you'd hear about this grocery billionaire that was like really involved in the New York City mayor's race. And it's like, wait, someone can become a billionaire by like selling food. And, then you've got Zoran talking about city-owned grocery stores with price controls. And I think, the Fox News and that whole right-wing, media infrastructure is really going to fearmonger about like price controls and things like that. But, these are not just things that New York City wants. I mean, in Florida, north of our district in the Orlando area, Orange County voted for a rent freeze in a county-wide ballot referendum, and then the state government preempts that, as they do so many progressive policies in Florida, because conservatives love to say that the best government is the one that's closest to you, until you have some blue areas that are passing progressive policy, and they're like, wait, not like that. So I think there is a real need to cut into the inflationary aspect of whether it's groceries or housing or any other thing. Like, we need to make it easier for people by raising their wages, but we also need to get a hold of these prices. And it's, from groceries to housing with, corporate landlords and private equity buying up. I mean, it's a tremendous issue in Florida, as chat might imagine. With all of the tens of thousands of home inventory that are just bought up and used for perpetual rental communities. I mean, no hope of like any private individual ever being able to own these things. So yeah, there's Burrito Gate. It's just an extension of. It's an extension of avocado toast, which is an extension of, blaming people for the macroeconomic conditions that are driving this inflationary pricing.
Yeah, I mean, to sort of like use this to segue a little bit about generally progressive policies, I think like that's a big reason why there's been such a shift in the American opinion about, for example, the Iran war or even about Israel. Like, even if people don't personally care about the Palestinian people, even if people don't personally care about the Iranian people, no one wants to see their money, their taxpayer dollars being spent on bombs when they can't afford, like, being able to go to the grocery store and decide they want to have pork chops for dinner. Like, why are we spending billions of dollars that counter? And I gotta say, like, the media literacy generally of people, or like seeing the internet be used in a way that is very good for messaging. I don't know if you saw, there was this website and it was called like, how much have we spent on the Iran war so far, or something like that. And there was like a tracker that was like just constantly going up, and it was pretty accurate. And like day like 7 or something, it's already at like 20, I think it was million, or no, it might've been at billion actually. And you see that and you're like, what the hell are we this is why I can't afford groceries. This is why I don't want this. And I feel like this is such an easy like direction for progressives or Democrats to take, to say, hey, even if you don't care about these issues, shouldn't you care that we spend all this money on other nations, on forever wars in the Middle East that you don't need, that serve no purpose, instead of spending it on your community, on the people that are here, instead of spending it on childcare, instead of spending it on healthcare? Like, this should be the American people should be a priority. And it feels like establishment Democrats, instead of doing that, they just like toe the status quo line. And it's very refreshing to see candidates that aren't doing that, that are happy and willing to say, no, we shouldn't be funding weapons of war for Israel. Well, and you can correct me if I'm mistaken, or actually, if you want to elaborate on your position on defensive weapons for Israel, offensive weapons for Israel, and your stance.
Yeah, I don't make a distinction between offensive and defensive weaponry that goes to a country that's committing a genocide. There's just no practical reason to make that distinction when our military aid, whether it is taxpayer funded or whether we're allowing Israel to purchase it, to my mind, frankly, it doesn't matter. We shouldn't be giving it to them, even if it's for sale. There's a moral imperative here, but there's also, and I think it's, a really interesting corollary that you bring up when it comes to being anti-war. There's the people who, for the grounds of, our common humanity and opposing genocide on humanistic grounds, but then there's also the people that make, the just more cold-blooded economic argument. But I think that is a corollary that applies in so many other places. One area where I talk about it actually pretty frequently is in the Medicare for All platform, because you can immediately win over people when you say healthcare is a human right. And that's going to get, a good number of people to be like, yes, healthcare is a human right. That's why we support Medicare for All. But for other people, they can be won over, but they're going to need the more pragmatic economic argument. And so to that, I say, in South Florida, where we've got, small business owners, we've got entrepreneurs, we've got people that are, really aspiring, heavy immigrant community that is really, coming to the United States. And of course, speaking of immigrants, like, they are more predisposed to entrepreneurship and small business ownership and, opening new businesses. And what's your number one cost after labor? It's ensuring your employees' health insurance. And so what could we do to not only, make small businesses more solvent and more able to expand and grow and, increase their wages and benefits in other respects if, healthcare was decoupled from employment. But it's also, for workers, like, what is going to help unleash, a renaissance of American small business and entrepreneurship? It is making it so that you are not relying on Amazon or on Walmart for your family's healthcare. And you can actually afford to be a little bit more of a risk taker and go start that new idea, start that new restaurant, or start that new business because you're not dependent on your employer for your health insurance. So I think, when it comes back to military aid to Israel or any country, frankly, because, Moskowitz will dance around this and say, well, I'm not for conditioning it to Israel. I'm not, we need to do it for all of our allies. And it's like, great. Then if you also agree that the UAE is committing a genocide in Sudan with, their military armaments, if you agree that Saudi Arabia is, also oppressing people, if you agree that Egypt is a military dictatorship, then don't just say, don't bring in like other countries to say that we're not going to put conditions on any of them. Like maybe we should have a broader conversation, but certainly, the reason that Israel is the most proximate example is because it's our taxpayer dollars. It's not, an ally that is providing these armaments. Like it's us, it's our military. And what we see is not only the fact of the matter that we're aiding and abetting a genocide as it's been assessed by virtually every international body, we're also seeing just the rank corruption and waste, fraud, and abuse within our own defense industry, where we've got a record military budget. We have $1 trillion plus Pentagon budget. The Pentagon's never been able to pass an audit. And, this, as catastrophic as this war has been, I think to most Americans, we would not regard it as like a really big conflict. And yet we've almost entirely depleted so many of our ballistic missile defense, our interceptors, like so many of the things that we're supposed to be able to procure from this massive taxpayer investment. We're not even seeing it because there's so much overhead from our private military industrial complex and the defense industry, that it's just really we're making ourselves even more vulnerable at the same time that we're breaking both international and U.S. law. I mean, we have United States laws, the Leahy laws, that prohibit the military assistance to foreign security forces accused of gross human rights violations. The Department of State can't provide that aid. The Defense Department can't provide that aid. So we're breaking the law every time that we are continuing to see Congress, vote to approve more and more billions of dollars to go to Israel and the IDF, and we just cannot continue to be party to this, criminal law breaking that is, expanding a genocide and apartheid regime.
Beautifully said. I mean, I obviously agree. It is insane to me. I think that any Democrat thinks that it is a viable, or anyone thinks that it is a viable strategy to say that we should give unconditional support to any nation. Why? Because then the question becomes, well, what about Israel? Would you give unconditional support to Israel? I think it is insane that anyone is for unconditional support to any nation. And you will see this on social media. You'll see people I can't even scroll Instagram Reels, and I skip past every single one as quickly as I can it's so hard to not see anti-Israel memes on my feed. Consistently. That's how bad, the problem is so bad, and people think that we so unequivocally fund Israel's genocide that there's pretty much a agreement among younger voters that it's unconscionable. And it's a joke, and our nation is a joke for it, and any politician that's in favor of it is also a joke. So it's strange to me that candidates will still run that way, despite knowing that it is an unfavorable position, both on an economic front and on a moral front. Why, I suppose, just for a bit more funding instead of running policy. And we've seen policy works. I mean, again, the Michigan primary, that was an instance of policy. Yes, obviously, a candidate's likability plays a large factor. But the policy is the bread and butter. Without the policy, the candidate is not going to win, I think, in this landscape. And I am curious about your opinions about foreign nations, because I feel like this sort of ties in, where I feel like after almost a decade of Trump's China, anti-China policy over and over again, I think there's a bit of exhaustion and also boredom and also disgust of this anti-China rhetoric. I don't think people want more intervention. I don't think people want a conflict with China. So if you want to share your opinions there as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is another one where Congressman Moskowitz sounds very similar to a Republican. I mean, there's something he said when the sale of TikTok and decoupling TikTok US from the overall TikTok. He was asked, what do you think about Trump ally Larry Ellison buying TikTok? And he said, well, it's better than China, because he's also, said that China is influencing people with a propaganda operation through social media to, move the American people and move young people away from Israel by showing, the reality of the genocide. And I just don't think people are buying that anymore. When we see what the Chinese economy is able to do. I mean, home ownership in China is so much higher than it is in the United States. We're seeing, increasing standards of living there. We're seeing, the construction of a nationwide high-speed rail system that, we've talked about in the United States for decades and, seems no further along than it was 20 years ago. And at the same time, we're, spending record amounts on our military. Trump is, making this big push for our Navy and to, get new ships built so that we can, patrol the Pacific
and do testosterone testing for the. Technically, he didn't specify if it was for the men and women, but he did say we're doing testosterone testing and we're getting people the testosterone they need. What a great guy.
Yeah, that gender affirming care. I don't like the idea of giving the military, like mandating that the military has gets the it's a little bit Germany-esque, with giving our soldiers the juice they need to really fight the good fight. I don't, that does not make me comfortable.
I feel like the physical tests we had before did the job. I don't really understand the purpose of pumping people with more testosterone that maybe they don't need. It seems bizarre to me, but you know what, man? I guess if these people want to be fascistic and they want to tattoo on their forehead, I am a fascist, then they are more than welcome to expose themselves as the fascists that they are.
Yeah. But I mean, when I consider what the U.S. relationship with China should be, I mean, this belligerence, this saber rattling, the brinksmanship of we're, this conflicts that so many people seem to be aspiring towards would just be catastrophic for the world. I mean, just to name it plainly, we are experiencing a mass extinction event, man-made, the sixth mass extinction event that we know of in Earth's history caused by global climate change. We're seeing it here with increasingly warming ocean temperatures that is bleaching the coral, that is, devastating the marine biodiversity and the Everglades. And, the world over, we're seeing the impacts of global climate change and global conflict increases carbon emissions. The United States military is the largest emitter of greenhouse gas of any entity on Earth. So it is, not in our interest to be going to war and to being, trying to be more belligerent. We should be cooperating and working in a collaborative fashion with other countries, including China. And I don't buy for a second the kind of fear mongering that people, it just plays into a lot of the anti-Asian racism that, has been endemic in the United States for literally hundreds of years, going back to the Chinese Exclusion Act of the 1880s. So yeah, the China attacks, I think they're getting really tired. And I think that they're just so thin and stretched that when it's talking about influencing people on social media, I mean, these Republicans and, Democrats like Jared Moskowitz are sounding like the Russiagate people from, a decade ago, saying that we lost the 2016 election because of memes on Facebook. We have material realities to deal with here that are more proximate than what an influence operation from another country is doing to impact our politics. If people are so susceptible to outside influence, it's because our government is not doing nearly enough to deliver a real return on people's taxpayer investment to inoculate them from what might be purported to be outside influence. Though I disagree that that's what China's been doing with TikTok. It's just been an excuse to get more Trump allies, in control of a greater share of the media market.
I completely agree. I mean, I would go so far as to say that a lot of the housing market needs to be decommodified and housing should not be an asset to invest in. It should not be an investment. It's and China has really pushed to decommodify housing, and I think it has benefited the people of China. And I think the tipping point for a lot of people with China was when TikTok was soon to be sold. People started looking for alternatives, and I think it was it Red Note or Red Book was the other app that people started going to, but that app it had a lot more Chinese speakers, and there was this sort of like mixing of Americans and Chinese people, and there was a lot of, wait, did they actually make you pay for the ambulance? Oh my God. And there was a lot of Americans being like, well, is this how, are the ghost cities empty? And they're like, what? No, they're not empty. They're just building the city correctly with good infrastructure, and then we can move to those cities. What? Do you guys not do that there? And there was, I think, this shattering for Americans that were like, oh, why was I told to hate China for so long? Like, these people are great. Why am I so, like, mad about this for no reason? And I think, like, okay, this was recently, I think it was like Friday. Hillary Clinton said that the anti-communist rhetoric would be very effective by the GOP. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on that. And also, I just want to mention, we are very close to $4,000. So if we could get a couple donations, if you have $1, $5, $10, $20, anything that you can contribute to a great candidate who is anti-genocide, anti-weapons to Israel, anti-intervention with China, just a absolutely excellent candidate on all fronts. If you donated once, donate twice, donate 3 times, but don't pass the maximum, which is, I think, $3,500 if I'm not mistaken. But up until that point, donate again. Let's get to 4,000. We are super, super close. So please go ahead and share your Clinton opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and this is, again, pre-Trump, I was motivated to go to New Hampshire and organize for Bernie Sanders because I did not believe that Hillary Clinton was the resolution that we needed for a Democratic Party that was actually going to make the progress that we needed in this country, that we still need. And what she says about they're going to attack Abdul al-Sayed as a socialist or a communist. They attacked Hillary as the same. They're going to attack Jared Moskowitz as the same. So, like, you're going to get those attacks either way. And if you're just going to be like, oh, no, I'm scared, I'm not going to, like, you're going to back off from forcefully advocating for the universal policies that they're going to, they're calling you these names because they're trying to tie your popularity to, trying to fearmonger about universal policies that are actually very popular. And so if you allow that to be, a vulnerability for you rather than an asset, then, like, of course, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why we've seen, these milquetoast neoliberal candidates, fail so often, because they can't stand up and defend an agenda. They're just going to make concession after concession after concession. So I think it's a really new and novel idea to a lot of people like Hillary Clinton or Neera Tanden or Van Jones or James Carville. But, not being I think that's why we've seen the strength of so many DSA candidates and DSA aligned candidates this election cycle. There's just no apology when you believe in things that are going to make life better for the majority of people. Sorry, I've been doing so much talking in recent days that I think it's really weak, and it is, this ongoing effort to exclude or excise the left from the Democratic Party project as a whole. And what I was saying on Fox News this morning, when they played James Carville's comments that, you don't try to take the Democratic Party ballot line if you're not really a Democrat. If you're a DSA candidate, just leave the party. It's like, well, in 18 months, you're going to be begging us not to vote third party, for the presidency. So, like, what are we actually doing here? Like, just figure it out. Do you want to win, or do you want to be in a perpetual minority where you can be a pundit and not have any actual accountability to deliver on an agenda, you can just be, constantly, critiquing from the peanut gallery. And it feels like that's what, that's a position that Hillary Clinton and James Carville and many others are more comfortable being in, because, when they do have power, when they do see, Joe Biden elected, it's like, oh, we gotta moderate. We gotta hold on to what we have. So we gotta moderate and like stop all of these policies that motivated people to turn out and vote for us. Like we just gotta maintain the status quo because we like the status quo when we're in power and government. And that was, why we saw in 2022 and 2024, those gains really being swept away. And even in 2020, my assertion is that, Democrats could have won a lot more. They actually lost seats in the House despite unseating Donald Trump because they caved into a lot of the, rhetoric around, the largest uprising for racial justice in U.S. history against police brutality. And by the end of that campaign, they were already, backing away from any meaningful reforms. So, there's always this kind of blunting of momentum and blunting of energy that we see coming from the Democratic Party establishment. But, that gets in the way of actually motivating and inspiring people. So yeah, I don't buy for a second that, it might be a vulnerability if Hillary Clinton was the one on the ballot and she was running away from those things. But I think Abdul is made of tougher stuff than that. And a lot of the candidates this cycle are made of a lot tougher stuff than that. And they're willing to, throw a punch back.
I think yourself included. And I would say that there's like a lot of power to biting that bullet and saying, okay, I don't really care if you call me a communist. Yeah, I'm a democratic socialist. Okay. And now what? Now,
Yeah.
what are we doing now? Okay. Is that it? Okay. Yeah. And there's so, when you take that term back, there's so much power because there's nothing else that they can say. That's it. You already said, yeah, that's what I am. Okay. Now, if you want to call me a communist for saying that people should have health care and people should be able to afford their groceries, okay, then you can call me that. I don't know what to tell you. I just want to give people the things that they need because you guys aren't delivering on those things. I don't care about the label. The label's not important. They called FDR a socialist and a communist for wanting social security. The label is completely irrelevant. And then I think it makes them resort. And there was this really amazing Fox News segment way back when for Mamdani. And it was like, this is the evil socialist that's going to ruin Mamdani if you let him. And it was like, healthcare, immigration reform, for pro-immigration, paid leave. It's like, is this an ad campaign? Are you gonna make? I'm already gonna vote for him. Why would you make me want to vote for him 100 more times? I mean, I guess sure if you want me to. Okay, like it was just not very effective. It was not effective at all. This also sort of segues, or I'd like to segue it into Gavin Newsom had this like, and Gavin Newsom is his own beast. But just to dial in on one particular statement that he made this statement about how the party needs to be more normal and like talk about the normal issues. And it was I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a comment about talking about trans people. And I think this is just another thing that's like a total waste of time to listen to Democrats like Gavin Newsom on trans people. Mamdani very, very clearly and concisely, he had like a great video on it talking about how trans rights are human rights. And we're not going to leave our trans brothers and sisters behind. There is no coalition without them. They are as important as any other group that we choose to serve and help and seek reforms for. And so I wanted to see what your opinion was on that, and how you feel about all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really upsetting to see like Gavin Newsom or Seth Moulton, who's running for the Senate, primarying Ed Markey in Massachusetts, giving in to this like Jared Moskowitz has done the same thing in the last two National Defense Authorization Acts, the last two defense bills. He in the more distant one, he voted for a defense bill that excluded the trans children of U.S. service members from receiving gender-affirming care under TRICARE. And then in the most recent NDAA, he voted with conservatives to restrict trans athletes from participating in sports at U.S. military academies. And it's like, why are you giving this any more oxygen by like giving credence to these bad faith attacks when what you're talking about is like such a statistically small number of people that it has virtually no impact on anybody's life that's watching this. All it does is allow for, you know, a trans child here or there to be able to like participate in sports with their friends or be able to, you know, like so much of this is like cast as like making people afraid of, you know, people of different identities, where it's like we just need to get back to like, I am woke, like let's be straight up about it. Like I'm woke as hell. And like I regard this as just like having basic respect and decency for people. Like it's not anything more complicated than that. And it is a disservice to give in to these bad faith attacks when like, what are you doing? You're just creating more oxygen for them to continue to drive that wedge. When if you're willing to show that you will stand up for any individual of any identity or background, because you believe on principle that we all should have that same basic respect and decency afforded to us, and that we should all have our civil rights respected, and that we should all be able to fully participate in society. You know, that is an ethic that stretches across, you know, standing up for the Palestinian community, for the LGBTQ community, for the trans community, for the immigrant community, for, you know, Black folks that are being, you know, in our state, you know, having their political representation ripped away after the Calais decision. You know, I think it's just like an ethic that we need to adopt, that we like, it's one of solidarity. And that is the operative word here. It's like solidarity with any community. That is, you know, conservatives are going to try to divide and conquer. It's what they do. And so any attempt to divide should be met with resistance and met with solidarity.
Completely
And I think it's been disturbing to see Democrats, you know, not practice that.
Completely agree. I mean, it's just, it's we're stronger together. And I was so frustrated when I saw Gavin Newsom said that, because it is anything but normal to have this hyper obsessive transphobia that lives in your mind. Like Nancy Mace being obsessed about the gender of all of these people, like the idea of having like genital inspections at bathrooms, like that is anything but normal. Like that is not a normal thing to do. There was this video of this guy who just brought his daughters into the women's restroom. So he went in with them and he's just helping them like wash their hands. Like it's this guy with his two little girls. And there's some guy out there being like, you're not supposed to be in there. And he's like, I'm just helping my little girls. Like, I would rather them, what, you want me to take them into the men's restroom? I'm just you are experiencing insanity if you think that is an instance of like bad behavior. There's nothing weird about that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, and I think this hyper focus on excluding trans people it does the exact opposite of what we want. It puts more focus, it gives more credibility to Republicans, and it's morally reprehensible. So I don't think it's good strategy, and I think it's disgusting behavior. So I think the opposite. I think the obsessed behavior is not normal. And trans people mind their own business like everybody else. They just have their own lives to lead. They have to worry about their groceries. And that's not even talking about the fact that they are, you know, disproportionately attacked, both literally and also legislatively. In Kansas, I saw that if your gender identity on your ID or like your marker on your ID did not match your birth certificate, the trans people all had their IDs revoked effectively over a letter immediately. They didn't give them 90 days. They didn't give them 60 days, 30 days. It was immediate. Like, how am I supposed to think that that is anything other than an attack on trans people? What is a trans person with an ID with their gender identity that matches how they look, how anyone would perceive them or react to them or treat them? How is that benefiting me? That's just a waste of our money. Like, it's so insane to me.
Yeah, and you know, this is why when we talk about Medicare for all, that has to include the Transgender Healthcare Act as part of it. You know, including in Medicare for all, the hormone therapy, the other procedures that are necessary for people to live their full expression of themselves. People are not, trying to like game the system by getting like healthcare that they don't deserve. I think that's just, this is a manipulation that the private insurance industry and the for-profit, health insurance industry has to like get people to regard that like there's forms of healthcare that like you are or are not entitled to. That is just completely against like any, common sense humanity. And I think also, for the trans community, like, the trans bill of rights, as part of like, passing a larger suite of legislation like the Equality Act to ban discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. And, when you mentioned the, inspections of children, like this is one way that is just like, it is such an inversion of what it's actually supposed to be about, which like they're gonna lie and say it's about protecting children. And how are you gonna protect children? By giving adults, a lot of adult men, like, just like inspecting children's genitalia, like at
and then
school,
pushing
like
against sex ed that teaches consent.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it is like a pedophile, like construction piece of legislation that is just going to enable, for the sexual abuse and harassment of children at the hands of adults that are supposed to be protecting them, all in some vain attempt to discriminate against trans people, but it ends up just endangering all of our kids. So it's like many things, conservatives project, that which they themselves are guilty of. I think that was, again, not to keep hearkening back to the Fox News clip, but it's why I had to bring it there, because they're going to, say that it's like, oh, it's these people that are, guilty of like sexual assault or harassment or, child predation or sex trafficking. And it's like, well, look in your own backyard, like look at the people that you're surrounding yourselves with. And I think, that's where, we lose credibility by giving into these attacks. And I don't say we, like you and I, Denims, but like the Democratic Party or the left are like, they lose credibility when, when the moderates or centrists or, people who are like, somehow like they're Democrats, but they're like against, the more socially progressive policies, and they're also against more of the fiscally progressive policies. So they're just like moderating on every issue. And it just gives more power to the right to do what they're doing.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was, it's just, and none of these things are radical positions. These are all very normal positions that are just meant to help people. So I want to say, was there anything else that you wanted to share before we sign off? I saw that we got to $4,200. Maybe we can get to 45 before you finish your sign off, if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you to everyone in chat that's contributed already, for volunteering. I'm sure that many of you have already been participating in some way, whether it's boosting us on social media or maybe you've been dialing. We definitely need you to smile and dial. That's the other link that's in the pinned chat, is not just your donations. Of course, we're putting this directly back out into our voter communications with our canvassers, with our campaign literature and so forth. But we also need, the phone calls from people all across the country to tap in and talk to voters. I just voted early today myself. So if you're in the 25th district in Palm Beach, Broward, or Miami-Dade County along the coast, get out there and vote early. Like, get your vote in early. Don't let something get in the way on election day. Like, make a plan to vote, go cast your ballot, and that gives you more time to then go get your friends, your family, or if you live outside of the district, get your people who live here to participate, and getting those phone calls in to do the vote by mail ballot chase to get people out, vote early. Like, if they answer, you can say, hey, did you vote already? You can go 2 minutes down your block and go cast a ballot. So that's all going to be incredibly important. And I think just to frame this for people, because we've seen such an amazing string of wins across the country this year, we're going to have such an amazing class of freshmen Democratic representatives that are part of DSA, that are part of this, growing wave of the left progressive movement. And we have an opportunity in this seat to not only replace a reprehensible representative, someone who's never had a public town hall, who does not care to show up. There's $650,000 in super PAC spending from Wall Street and OpenAI's super PACs on our district right now. And when we win here on August 18th and when we win the general election on November 3rd, it is going to change politics in this country as we know it, the same way that we're seeing politics be changed by those recent primary wins in Michigan. If we can show that this brand of politics is capable of winning in purple districts, just the same as in the deep blue areas, then, this is the momentum that we need to build if we're going to, not just take back the White House in 2028, but bring a real progressive, or dare I say democratic socialist if Representative Ocasio-Cortez cares to run. This is the kind of
make our
leadership
dreams come true.
So this is what's on the line, and your donations, your phone calls. If you happen to live locally or want to come down over the final 9 days, go and canvassing with us. We knocked on 3,000 doors yesterday, so people are mobilized. They're ready. They believe it's possible. And I just want to plug that poll again one more time. What we've seen in our polling is that there is a 2-point gap within the margin of error. Jared Moskowitz is at 40%. I'm at 38%. 22% are undecided. He's got a big advantage among those who have voted early, but that's before we started our advertising. That's before I went on Fox News and the clip that's been seen a million times. If you look at the word cloud of like, what have you seen or heard about Oliver Larkin recently? One of the biggest words is pedophile.
Yeah. Oh God.
Which is really funny. But just shows that like people are really ready to, call out the BS on Fox News, like call out the hypocrisy with the Trump administration. And what we've seen, although Moskowitz has a big lead among those who have voted early, we have a strong lead among those who have yet to vote. We just need to turn them out. It's young people, it's disaffected voters, it's people, who don't always participate, but are really being galvanized by what we're building. So I think I've been yapping long enough to hopefully get us a little bit closer to 4,500. But visit our website, oliverforcongress.com. If you want to read more about the issues that we care about, of course, we have the volunteer link in the chat, the same as the donation link. And, Denims, I just, I'm so glad to be on with you. Thank you for having me. Continuing to, really speak truth to power, speak truth to Ethan Klein and, all of the other trolls on the internet. I think this platform on Twitch has been like so transformative for our campaign of just being able to reach, critical mass of people. And it would not be possible without the platform that you've built and, talking, on a daily basis about what's impacting the country and, having it in a more casual way that, cuts through the corporate media and really reaches people where they're at. So I just can't thank you enough. And, so grateful that you've been willing to share your platform and boost our campaign in the final days. And thank you to everyone in chat as well. It's been a real pleasure spending some time with you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I wish you nothing but the best. If you guys are registered to vote and are in the district, you should absolutely go ahead, vote for Larkin. If you are not, you can try and phone bank or you can donate. We made it to $43.83, so we are only $117 away from $4,500. So maybe that'll happen sometime between now and when I eventually press the stop streaming button, which would be amazing. But thank you again so much for coming to the show. I saw a lot of people who said that they didn't know anything about you, so that's really exciting that we got some eyes on you and your campaign, and that you are, I think, one of a few candidates that is really just, I almost want to say like a perfect candidate. Like I don't know of a single position, or I haven't seen a single position of yours that I've disagreed with. And I think every single candidate should have your positions, and it's just not close. So thank you again so much for coming on. Everyone, please say bye to Oliver. And maybe Luna can't be on, but you can see this guy.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. I promise after, because this has been one of the best streams that we've done. So when I get home, I will take a video of feeding Luna a churu. I'm sure you know what churus are,
Yes.
the kitty go-gurts. And I'll send it in. So if you feel so inclined to play it on stream as a
I would
as a
absolutely
thank
love
you.
that. Well, thank you again so much for coming to the show. Please have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your Turkish coffee. And hopefully the next time I hear about you, it's your win.
Yes. Inshallah. Thank you so much for having me on, Denims.
Bye. Wow, that was so much fun. Okay. It's my first time doing like an interview, I guess. That was so much fun. You guys can see why I wanted to bring him on the show. Like, just like, I don't know what positions I would change. Even people who I've supported in the past, I've had positions that I've disagreed with, like Abdullah Sayed being like capitalism. It's like, or like even Katib Ghazali in the past about like some China stuff that she said. I was like, ugh. So yeah, he's very good. He's very well spoken. Just like really, his answer on, for example, Israel and whether or not Israel has a right to exist. We made it to 4,500. Thank you guys again so much for the support as well. You were smarter than we thought. Good job, Denim. I'm gonna keep my eye on you, pal. Buddy. I'll have you know, I had straight A's in college, and I was taking 6 classes. Because I study. But yeah, thank you guys also for donating. That's really cool. And again, we're not gonna have... It's much easier to get more candidates to respect the internet landscape when they come on, they get support. They get people that show up for the phone banks. They get people who donate. They get people to help out at the campaign. And they see some actionable change. So I do appreciate everyone who donated. And, you know, the more... I didn't expect so many people to enjoy it either. I was like, oh, we'll bring them on and we'll see how it goes. So I didn't expect you guys to like it so much. But it makes me happy that you guys did. And now is the perfect time to say the next announcement that I have, which is a big one. I'm going to be baking Mayor Cat. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding about that. But I'm actually going to go... We're going to do a fun little segment on Hasan's stream later today. Probably like maybe 3 or so hours. But I don't know if he already spoiled it. But yeah, we're going to do something fun. He did? What the fuck? Nah, he muted. I already saw someone wrote it, so like, he spoiled it. Soiled it. Soiled it. Anyways, Hasan, the 9/11 guy. We still talking about that guy? You just put Denims in the building, that's it. Yeah, crossover episode. Are you going to teach him how to game? Listen, all right. There are some dogs that you can't teach. Why was I saying trick? Teach new tricks to, man, all right? I don't know if that's possible. Gaming might be a bit beyond his arthritis. I'm just kidding. Don't report me. Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna head off. I have to prep for that. But it'll be fun. So see you guys in like 3 hours on that broadcast. Then we watch the Pink and Drake clip first. I don't want to watch that on. No, I have to go get ready. But okay, well, I guess I will see you guys in like 3 hours. I might do a stream tomorrow just for funsies as like a debrief because I think that would be fun. Okay. Well, yeah, it's the year of the Denims. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, everybody. Stay hydrated. Tell your homies you love them. And I will see all of you guys in a couple hours. And then tomorrow. All right. Bye, everybody.